Next, I'm afraid there will be suppression from the various clan elders. Right now, the political situation of the Gua village was like this. The clan leader was alive and one of the two ministers, Gua Lian, was dead, but the Kai faction was not without people. The heir Gua Cheng was still alive, and there was also a clan elder like Gua Zhong who came from the same faction. And the Mo faction had lost its heir and Mo Chen was heavily injured, falling to rank 2 and could not even keep his clan elder status. The two great forces of the past were now in decline. On the contrary, the medicine faction was mostly made up of healing GU masters and was at the back. There were fewer sacrifices and their strength was preserved, showing signs of rising. The medicine faction was originally part of the clan leader's faction, but now it had the qualifications to be independent. But regardless of whether Gua and Yaroji chose to be independent or continue to rely on the clan to strengthen themselves, they would need to snatch an annex. The Kai and Mo bloodlines, which were in dire straits, were the best targets. If they did not act now, when the two great forces recovered, it would be hard to say. The whirlpool of the mortal world cannot be controlled by oneself. Riding the wind and breaking the waves for 30,000 li, this is the demonic path. Fang Yuan looked up at the moon and sighed bitterly. He wanted to escape from this political whirlpool, but Guyue and Mo Chen forcefully pulled him back. Pressure from all sides surged towards him. Tai Xueleng had already started to solve the case, and on the other side, Bai Ningbing had also obtained a new helper. It was like sailing on a submerged reef, with danger lurking everywhere. How could they make a path? The next day. What? You said Jiao Jinsheng's killer has been found and even killed. Even killed? Tai Ruo Nan was astonished. This morning, she woke up early and started to understand the case. But to think that the first news she got was that the killer had already been executed. That's right. The killer is a demonic GU master. He even tried to assassinate our clan's rising star, attempting to kill a genius, but was killed on the spot by our clan's GU master. An elder provided clues. Is it really like this? Did he directly admit that he was Jiao Jinsheng's killer? Tai Ruo Nan frowned deeply. Beside her, Tai Xueleng wore a bronze mask, standing silently like a statue. That's not true. But, if it is not him, who else could it be? The elder shrugged. Tai Ruo Nan pondered in her heart, these are all guesses, there is no evidence. But no matter what the truth is, this demonic GU master must be investigated thoroughly. Very likely, this is a clue that leads straight to the truth. Thinking of this, Tai Ruo Nan raised her head. Where is he buried? I want to open the coffin and examine the corpse. In the shabby coffin, there was a corpse. The stench assaulted the nostrils, causing the servants and GU masters who helped open the coffin to hide far away in disgust. But the Tai father and daughter seemed to not smell it. Tai Ruo Nan's eyes shone with a layer of light, and she bent down to examine the corpse with great interest. On the corpse, there were many traces left behind. Many times, 1 or 2 small traces could be irrefutable evidence pointing to the killer. On this corpse, there were many scars, and the person's appearance could be vaguely seen. He was also wearing his original clothes. Tai Ruo Nan searched for a long time, before standing up reluctantly. Did you find anything? Tai Xueleng softly asked, testing her. Guyue clan thinks that this person is very likely to be Jiao Jinsheng's killer, thus they preserved this corpse very well. There is a big problem with this corpse. Tai Ruo Nan answered. He is a middle-aged man, his right arm is thicker than his left, and both his hands have a thick layer of calluses. The distribution of the calluses is not uniform. His body is full of scars, with many fatal injuries. Before his death, he had an intense battle. But on his body, there are also many internal injuries. Especially on his left foot, he is missing 3 toes. This is an injury from many years ago. Saying so, Tai Ruo Nan deduced, he is very likely to have been a hunter when he was alive. There is a lot of evidence. The asymmetrical body and the calluses on his hands show that he is a person who often draws a bow. There are many claw and teeth marks from wild beasts on his body, and he often interacts with wild beasts. His clothing is also not that of an orthodox GU master. Especially the straw sandals on his feet, they are even more interesting. The grass used to weave the straw sandals is bamboo hemp grass. This grass only grows around Ching Marrow bamboo. And Ching Marrow Mountain is rich in Ching Marrow bamboo. Other than this, there is no bamboo hemp grass in the surrounding 1,000 li. What do you mean? Tai Shueleng asked. Before this person became a demonic Gu master, he must have been a hunter. From his clothing, he is very likely a hunter from Ching Marrow Mountain. Tai Ruo Nan's eyes shone with brilliance. How can you be sure he is a native here? If it is straw sandals, he could have killed the villagers here and put them on himself. Tai Shueleng retorted. That's not it. Among all the clothing, shoes are very special. If they were stolen, most of them would not fit well. But look at this pair of shoes, not only do they fit well, they are also tightly knit, as if tailor-made. His left foot is missing 3 toes, so the straw sandals on his left foot are correspondingly shorter. The wounds on his toes are at the base, and are very sharp. I guess it is very likely that he stepped into a trap many years ago. Tai Ruo Nan said. Tai Shueleng did not comment, neither did he confirm anything, nor did he criticize anything. Just like what he said earlier, he would leave everything to Tai Ruo Nan to solve. Tai Ruo Nan continued to speak. With this deduction, we can definitely go to the surrounding villages and carry out investigations. We might be able to find more clues. As she spoke, the young girl's expression suddenly froze. She suddenly recalled that Ching Marrow Mountain had just experienced a wolf tide catastrophe. Even the village had suffered heavy losses, not to mention these villages at the foot of the mountain. She wanted to use this method to find out this person's identity and information, but the chances were very slim. But even if the chances are slim, as long as there is a possibility of success, I will still try. This was the first time the young girl had solved a case on her own, and she was full of energy. However, half a day passed, and she returned in low spirits. This wolf tide was the most terrifying in history, and some villages did not even have any survivors. This made it very difficult for her to conduct her investigation. This clue is broken. What are you going to do next? Tai Shueleng asked at an appropriate time. The young girl gritted her teeth, her tone revealing stubbornness and tenacity. No, it's not over yet. Father, didn't you say that the real clue is hidden even deeper, and as long as we continue to dig, it will appear? This demonic Gu master's death is very fishy. First, why did he attack Fangjing? How did Fangjing offend him, causing him to disregard his own safety and risk his life to assassinate Fangjing amidst many strong enemies? Secondly, he is a local. But why did no one recognize him after his death? Her words caused Tai Shueleng to raise his eyebrows. Child, you have really grown up. The divine investigator sighed, his tone filled with relief. Chapter 179. You're asking me why that Gu master came to kill me? How would I know? Facing Tai Ruo Nan's question, Fangjing blinked innocently. If you did something, I really hope you don't hide it. Because your unintentional words could be a huge help in solving the case. The young girl said sincerely. Fangjing shook his head. I was also puzzled. I was cultivating all this time. How did I attract an assassination? But after that, the people around me analyzed that this demonic Gu master was hired by the other 2 clans to kill a rising star like me. You also know that Bai and Xiong clans have always hated our Guya clan. Xiong clan is the most suspicious. They had once recruited demonic Gu masters. Xiong clan her. Tai Ruo Nan could not help but feel dejected. Xiong clan was already swallowed by the wolf tide. It seems this clue is broken again. But at this time, there was a commotion outside the door. Look, isn't that Xiong clan's men? Didn't Xiong clan get exterminated? Why are there envoys here? The appearance of Xiong clan's envoys caused a huge commotion in the entire village. Everyone was discussing. Soon, there was news from the clan head pavilion. Xiong clan still has a large number of survivors. They retreated on their own, using a Gu left behind by our ancestor. At the same time, they concealed many of their figures, deceiving everyone. This group of bastards, passively avoiding battle and letting the wolf tide spread to our side. These Xiong clan people are big and crude, but their hearts are actually very sinister. They want to use the wolf tide to weaken us. Too despicable. Guyue clansmen were filled with righteous indignation. The appearance of Xiong clan's envoys caused the entire situation of Qing Maro Mountain to change drastically. Originally, they thought it would be a battle between Bai clan and Guyue clan, but to think it would still be a battle between three clans. But thinking about it, it was understandable. Xiong clan was a clan that had stood strong for hundreds of years, and similarly had a deep foundation. Which clan did not have an old ancestor or a trump card? After Xiong clan's envoys left, Guyue Bo immediately called for an elder meeting. These bastards from the Xiong clan village are really despicable. They actually retreated. I really can't look down on anyone. The Xiong clan has always been ranked behind our clan and the Bai clan, and is considered to be at the bottom of the Qing Maro Mountain. But since they have such a scheme, we have to be even more careful in the future. They want to kill us with a borrowed knife, using the wolf tide to eradicate us. If it weren't for that lightning lichen, we wouldn't have had to sacrifice so many elders. These people deserve to die. If not for divine investigator Tai's appearance, I'm afraid that even the two patriarchs would have lost their lives. We can't let these people go for nothing. It's necessary to demand compensation. It was us and the Bai family who worked together to get rid of the lightning lichen. But as for how to ask for compensation, I still need to think it over carefully. The elders spoke one after the other, and finally came to a conclusion after the discussion. The Guyue clan would send an envoy to the Xiong clan. He must find out the truth about the Xiong family. If the Xiong family was strong enough, they would have to ally with the Bai family. If the Xiong family was too weak, they might just send people to eliminate them and seize their spirit spring. Then, who is the most suitable person to go to the Xiong clan? Guyue Bo looked around and asked, which elder can take on this responsibility? The hall immediately became silent. The elders looked at each other, no one was willing to go. Now was the time of internal strife, and the crucial time to divide the cake of benefits. If they went to the Xiong clan and caused their own bloodline to be leaderless, others would take advantage of it. When they returned, the situation would be set. I feel that to go to the Xiong clan, there must be an experienced and mature person who can take charge. Among everyone here, only the Mo Chen clan can take on this responsibility, Guyue Yaroji suddenly said. Guyue Mo Chen snorted, and immediately retorted, in terms of qualifications, Master Yaroji is more qualified than me. Especially in terms of popularity, I can't catch up and concede defeat. Looks like we will have to trouble Master Yaroji to go to the Xiong clan. Elder Mo Chen is right. I also recommend Madam Yaroji. A family elder stood up. I feel that Master Mo Chen is more suitable. Another elder immediately retorted. The scene was chaotic. Guyue Bo sat on the main seat and watched coldly without making a sound. The medicine faction already had the intention of leaving him and was no longer under his control. Therefore, he didn't want to help either side, and quietly watched the situation. This was the first contest between the medicine faction and the Mo faction. Both sides had political allies. It could be seen that the leaders of both sides had made many compromises and exchanges of benefits. But overall, the medicine faction was slightly stronger. Guyue Yaroji's popularity and the Kai faction's inclination were the main reasons for this situation. Guyue Bo watched coldly from the side, secretly remembering everyone's factions. As the clan leader, of course he didn't want to see power fall to someone else. These elders were all his opponents. But he decided to wait and see first, and not make a move. The Mo faction has too many resources and power, and they lost an heir. Therefore, the medicine faction is in a hurry to jump out and take a bite. Therefore, the key to this battle is on one person. Guyue Bo thought inwardly and moved his gaze to Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan had been sitting on his seat, not saying a word. It seems that this Fang Yuan and the Mo faction aren't very close and haven't reached an agreement of benefits. Otherwise, he would have helped already. Is this my chance? Guyue Bo couldn't help but think. But at this time, Fang Yuan suddenly stood up from his seat. His action instantly attracted everyone's attention. Then he said something shocking. The mission to the village is very important, it concerns the rise and fall of our clan. I am willing to take on the mission and investigate the Xiong clan's situation for the clan. What? Fang Yuan is volunteering to go? What does he mean? Is he really dumb or pretending to be dumb? Isn't he afraid that by the time he returns, the benefits will have already been divided? All the elders were bewildered. Fang Yuan had his own plans. If he went to the Xiong clan, he might be able to find an opportunity to instigate a conflict between the three clans. Even if he couldn't, he would have a chance to leave. Wait a minute. Anyone can be the envoy, but not Fang Yuan. Chapter 180. Elder Fang Yuan, is it true that you killed Old Man Wang's entire family? On the main seat, Guo Bo asked in a deep voice. Everyone's gazes were focused on Fang Yuan. The young elder laughed coldly. It is indeed true. Guo Fangjing closed his eyes with a heavy heart. Although he killed many lightning wolves, he had never killed anyone. When he heard Fang Yuan admit it, he suddenly felt that his own brother was so unfamiliar and distant. This kind of distance was mixed with the fear of his ruthless methods, and also the anger of being implicated by the innocent. Fang Yuan, don't you feel any guilt for killing innocent people like this? Maybe you have some difficulties, you can say it out. Tai Ruo Nan frowned. She, who was filled with righteousness, hated people like Fang Yuan the most. So what if I killed them? I don't need to tell you my story. But I didn't know that the missing Wang was a demonic GU master. I also didn't know that Fangjing would be implicated, Fang Yuan said honestly. Brother, are you not going to say anything to me? Fangjing opened his eyes red. What do you want me to say? Words of consolation or words of apology? Little brother, you are still too inexperienced. Fang Yuan laughed coldly. Damn it, brother, don't think you are so great just because you advanced to clan elder. Let me tell you, I already have the qualifications to break through to rank 3. Fangjing gritted his teeth, his fists clenched so hard that veins popped out. Enough. Guo Bo couldn't stand it anymore and shouted, Fangjing, step down. What kind of propriety is it to make such a big fuss here? His words had a hidden meaning, hiding his dissatisfaction. Tai Ruo Nan couldn't sense it, but divine investigator Tai Xuelung reacted immediately. He took a step forward and cupped his fists. Clan leader Guo and clan elders, my daughter barged into your clan's discussion hall, it is indeed inappropriate. I apologize for offending all of you. The clan elders hurriedly stood up and said that they didn't dare. Guo Bo's expression softened. Tai Xuelung continued, however, this little brother Fang Yuan, because he is involved in Zhou Jin Sheng's case, he is still a suspect. I hope that he can stay in the stronghold and try not to go to the outer stronghold. Guo Bo rubbed his temples and sighed. We, the Guo clan, also hope to give Lord Jiao Fu an explanation. Since this is what the divine arrester wants, Elder Fang Yuan will have to suffer a little before he is cleared of suspicion. I hope you can understand. Guo Bo looked at Fang Yuan. His expression was sincere, but his gaze was deep. Although Fang Yuan killed Old Man Wang's family, they were only mortals. What was wrong with a GU master killing mortals? Especially when this GU master was a clan elder. Thus, there was no punishment. Yes. Fang Yuan looked at Guo Bo and replied expressionlessly. Damn it, it's like this again. Tai Ruo Nan punched the tree trunk, causing the leaves to fall. She was furious and gritted her teeth. He clearly killed someone, but he turned a blind eye to it and didn't say anything. Father, are you saying that mortals aren't humans? Why do GU masters feel that killing mortals is a matter of course? Tai Xuelung was silent like a statue at the side. The weather was gloomy and the wind blew, causing the leaves in the forest to rustle. Tai Ruo Nan suddenly lowered her head, her expression dejected. I'm sorry, father. She apologized. I didn't listen to your instructions and used the intuition GU. Sigh. The divine arrester heaved a long sigh, his deep gaze falling on the young girl. Child, you hate evil so much and have a strong sense of justice, just like me when I was young. As a father, I feel gratified but also worried. Worried about what? Your ambition is even greater than mine. When I was young, my ambition was to capture all the criminals in the world and fill up the demon suppression tower. But you want to make everyone equal, to make GU masters and mortals alike, to make law and reason spread throughout the world. This kind of ambition and ideal is too big and too heavy. Tai Shuelung's words were filled with vicissitudes of life. But father, the so-called law, justice, if we don't treat everyone equally, then what is the meaning of justice and law? How could a young man be considered a young man if he didn't have some arrogant ideals? I believe in human effort. As long as I work hard, I might be able to achieve it. Tai Ruonan's tone was agitated, her eyes filled with longing. Tai Shuelung was silent for a while before saying, "One day, you will understand, Ruonan. But that's good, young people should walk their own path. Setbacks will lead to maturity. Father is old, I won't interfere with you anymore. I only hope you can live the life you want." Saying so, he took out a letter from his pocket and handed it to Tai Ruonan. "This is." Tai Ruonan opened the letter and was immediately overjoyed. This letter was Jiao Fu's reply. It recorded all the information regarding Jiao Jinsheng's case, including Fang Yuan's stone gambling, possessing the liquor worm, how he used the bamboo gentleman Jiu to interrogate Fang Yuan, and even the second time Fang Yuan made a bid, the talent he displayed during the transaction, and the fact that he was recruited by Jiao Fu. Tai Ruonan read the contents of Fang Yuan's bid 3 times, her eyes shining brightly. This Fang Yuan is not only ruthless and cruel, he is also intelligent and scheming. My intuition tells me that he is very suspicious. If he really is the murderer, then he is really terrifying. His lies did not cause the bamboo gentleman Gu's expression to change. What kind of method is this? Tai Ruonan muttered to herself. What are you going to do next? Tai Shuelung asked. Jiao Jinsheng's case has happened a long time ago, it is full of mysteries and mysteries. Up until now, Jiao Jinsheng's corpse has not appeared, and we can't even deduce the crime scene. This case is too clean, I don't know where to start. There is only one prime suspect, Fang Yuan. Even though Wang Er's clues are cut off, and there is no evidence to prove that he is the murderer. But without any other targets, I can only rely on my intuition to investigate this Fang Yuan. Tai Ruonan replied energetically. You feel that there is something suspicious about Fang Yuan? Tai Shuelung asked. There are many suspicious points. Tai Ruonan immediately said, this Fang Yuan clearly only has C-grade aptitude, why is his cultivation speed faster than Fangzheng's? Although he has the help of the liquor worm and the relic Jiu, this speed is still too fast. Guyue tribe might not have sensed anything wrong, but bystanders can see more clearly. This is one of the suspicious points. Other than this, there is another suspicious point. That is his luck. Chapter 181. The live iron GU was a rank 2 GU, shaped like a coal briquette, fist-sized and pitch-black, with countless small holes on its surface. Fang Yuan injected his white-silver primeval essence into it, and the live iron GU floated up, spinning on its own before spewing out a black fog-like iron aura from the holes. The chainsaw golden centipede coiled around Fang Yuan's feet, its dark golden carapace full of scars, and the 2 rows of silver serrations were damaged. However, as the iron chi surged over and covered these scars, the scars were actually gradually being erased. The black iron aura continued to deplete, and the chainsaw golden centipede's 2 rows of serrations grew at a visible rate. Healing GU were divided into different categories, some healed GU masters, some healed all sorts of injuries, and some targeted GU worms. To the chainsaw golden centipede, the live iron GU was its healing GU. An hour later, the live iron GU became smaller, from a fist-sized coal briquette to the size of a marble, before finally disappearing. It was an expendable GU. But its sacrifice was exchanged for the chainsaw golden centipede's recovery. The chainsaw golden centipede now looked brand new. The 2 rows of silver serrations were as bright as new, shining with a cold light. On the dark golden carapace, the scars had mostly healed. Only 5 or 6 shallow scars remained on his body. But this was not a big deal, as in a few weeks, these scars would disappear due to the chainsaw golden centipede's own recovery ability. But without the live iron GU, relying on the chainsaw golden centipede's own recovery ability, it would take at least half a year for the serrations to fully grow. The chainsaw golden centipede was tough and soft, and although it consumed less primeval essence and had strong attacks, it was too tough and had flaws in its recovery ability. Everything in this world was balanced, and there was no such thing as an all-powerful GU. There were advantages and disadvantages. Even rank 6, rank 7, and above GU followed this law of nature. This way, the Chainsaw Golden Centipede's battle strength has completely recovered. Fang Yuan stretched out his hand, lightly touching the Chainsaw Golden Centipede's cold carapace, his face slightly pale. His pale face was covered in cold sweat. Damn it, at this time. Fang Yuan gritted his teeth, his left hand subconsciously covering his abdomen. His consciousness entered the aperture, only to see that the white-silver primeval sea was dead silent. The entire aperture was filled with an oppressive force. All the other GU were fiercely suppressed to the side. Only the spring-autumn cicada in the middle of the aperture above the sea was giving off a beautiful yellow and green light. At this moment, not only had the spring-autumn cicada's wings recovered, but even its main body had gained a lot more luster. Just like a falling object, the lower it was, the faster it would fall. The spring-autumn cicada's recovery speed was the same. After surviving the initial difficult and slow period, the more time passed, the faster its recovery speed became. Thus, trouble came. The spring-autumn cicada was a rank 6 GU master, while Fang Yuan was only a rank 3 GU master. His aperture gradually found it hard to contain the spring-autumn cicada. In the past, spring-autumn cicada was extremely weak and the burden on the aperture was not heavy. But now, the spring-autumn cicada was gradually recovering, displaying the strength of a rank 6 GU, causing Fang Yuan's aperture to be like a small temple, unable to contain a great deity. If this goes on, before the Tai father and daughter find out the truth, I might die from the spring-autumn cicada. When it rains, it pours. The real solution was to raise his cultivation as soon as possible. When he became a rank 6 GU master, his aperture would have the ability to contain the spring-autumn cicada. But this method would take too long. For example, the frenzy lightning wolf's lightning was too fast, and the white form immortal snake could not react in time, and Bai Ningbing was struck. In the end, the white form immortal snake was not a defensive GU. In Fang Yuan's previous life, Jiang Fan and the river swallowing toad were also like this. Although Jiang Fan obtained the rank 5 river swallowing toad's help, he was still assassinated by a GU master. By clan leader side, he felt extreme regret and pity towards this. But he had no other choice, he had done everything he could. Right, the results of the 3 clans' negotiation is out. Xiong clan's strength is mostly preserved, and cannot be underestimated. Finally, the 3 clans decided to hold a 3-clan tournament. Based on this result, the compensation will be decided. This tournament can only be participated by GU masters below 30 years old. I understand. Bai Ningbing nodded. I already have a premonition that my life is coming to an end. To be able to have a tournament, I am really happy. Thank you, Lord Clan Leader. No need to thank me. I am only thinking for the clan. Bai Clan Leader's expression was embarrassed. He was the one who suggested this, and the goal was to squeeze out Bai Ningbing's value to the greatest degree. However, Bai Ningbing's gratitude was sincere. There was no movement from the white form immortal snake GU, which meant he had no fate with the first ancestor's inheritance. But if there is life, there is death, so what? Bai Ningbing had already found his own path, and was no longer afraid. But in his heart, there was still a battle that he could not let go. Fang Yuan, you will come to the 3-clan tournament, right? Don't disappoint me. Because the current me is really very strong. Chapter 183. The flower wine monk knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. The 4th generation clan leader was kind and merciful. The 4th generation clan leader killed the flower wine monk on the spot, but he was heavily injured and died not long after. What a pity. The people of the demonic path are indeed treacherous and fickle. As Tai Ruo Nan read the contents, her eyes gradually dimmed. A pity. The flower wine monk was killed on the spot and could not have left behind any inheritance. If he could, then the timing would be just right. The young girl sighed in her heart. She did not give up and continued to read through the Guyue history book. Only when the time was up did Gua Yaroji come to urge them. The moment the Tai father and daughter left the main pavilion, Fangjing went up to them. Did you discover anything? Tai Shueleng was silent. Tai Ruo Nan shook her head with a bitter smile. But Fangjing said, I just thought of something that might be helpful to you. Brother was once very close to the Kai faction. The Kai faction elder Gua Lian had defended him in front of everyone. Miss Tai, do you think this liquor worm was secretly given to my brother by Kai Lian? The Kai faction? Tai Ruo Nan frowned. That's right. Before the Wolf Tide, the Kai faction and the Mo faction were our Gua faction's two biggest factions. Fangjing explained. How did the Kai faction get involved? Tai Ruo Nan was silent. She felt a headache coming on. This was her first time solving a case. She was originally full of confidence, but when she actually carried it out, she felt that it was extremely difficult. In the past, she saw her father solving cases like spinning silk from a cocoon. It was orderly and clear, as if success came naturally to him. But now that she was putting it into practice, she finally understood how difficult it was to solve cases. Sometimes there were no clues at all, sometimes all kinds of clues appeared randomly, causing people to not know what to do. The truth was always shrouded in fog. She did not know if she was getting closer to the truth or getting further away. Was the Kai faction's clue useful or not? Tai Ruo Nan could not help but feel lost. She subconsciously looked at her father Tai Shueleng. Father must have already found a clue. The young girl's admiration for her father deepened. If it was father, this case would have been solved long ago. I'm still too far away from my father. However, even if I fail, as long as father is by my side, the truth will be revealed and the culprit will be brought to justice. Tai Ruo Nan felt both ashamed and proud. With Tai Shueleng around, she wasn't worried that the culprit would go unpunished. However, the girl quickly shook her head, feeling a little annoyed. These frustrations were all directed at herself. Ruonan, you're such a good-for-nothing. Don't you want to surpass your father? Always wanting to rely on father, this kind of mentality will never be able to surpass the day. Ruonan, you have to work hard. You can do it. The girl pursed her lips and cheered herself on. Her will to fight surged through her again. She decided to overturn her previous assumption and start all over again. If the liquor worm wasn't obtained by Fang Yuan from the relic inheritance, but was given to him by someone else, then the Kai faction was the biggest suspect. But there was one thing. Why would the Kai faction secretly give the liquor worm to a C-grade aptitude student? What special advantage does Fang Yuan have that is worth the Kai faction's investment? Just because he is Fangjing's brother? No, this value is too small. Wait, it might not be the Kai faction's investment. There is another possibility, that is the Kai faction was threatened by Fang Yuan. If this is the case, what kind of leverage did Fang Yuan have that made the Kai faction pinch their nose and obediently compromise with a student who isn't even a GU master? Tai Ruo Nan racked her brains and an answer gradually appeared in her mind. But this answer was too vague, like a ray of light behind a paper window. Tai Ruo Nan could sense it and knew it was there, but she couldn't touch it or see it clearly. Father. The girl suddenly raised her head and looked at Tai Shueleng. I want to borrow the immortal finger. Tai Shueleng's tone was low and unhurried. This immortal finger gives clues based on the planted person's knowledge. It only thinks for you and might not be correct. Are you sure you want to use it? The girl nodded. The immortal finger was a seed. Tai Ruo Nan took it and buried it in the soil under her feet, then placed her palm on the ground and poured in her white silver primeval essence. A few breaths later, she retracted her palm. Soon, the soil loosened and a sapling broke out of the ground. The newly born sapling had a translucent green color and was very fresh and tender. It grew with the wind, growing bigger and bigger. From a tender yellow-green color, it turned into a verdant green color and finally into a dark green color. It grew into the shape of a cactus. There were sharp black thorns on its surface, its skin was thick and it was overflowing with dark green color. In a flash, a flower bud appeared at the center of its top. The white flower bud gradually grew into a flower bud, tender and beautiful. But the cactus's main body shrunk, as if it was dehydrated. Tai Ruo Nan stretched out her slender fingers and gently plucked this flower bud. The cactus immediately turned grey and died in a few seconds. Immortal Finger was a rank 3 consumable GU. Tai Ruo Nan took out this flower bud and carefully opened it. The flower bud was not wrapped in flower petals, but instead resembled a ball of paper. Tai Ruo Nan completely opened the flower bud, turning it into a square piece of white paper with petals. On the white paper, there were 2 words, aptitude. These 2 words, to others, were ordinary and inexplicable. But to Tai Ruo Nan, it was the most important hint. Immortal Finger, a grass GU, was originally used here, to provide inspiration to GU masters who were racking their brains to no avail. It often had the effect of poking through the window paper and allowing GU masters to gain enlightenment. Right, aptitude. Tai Ruo Nan shouted. She immediately took out a letter from her bosom. This letter recorded all the information Jiao Fu had gathered. In this information, there was a line that stated when and at what price Guo Lian bought the cleansing water GU. Right, this is it. I saw this earlier, but did not think of the deeper meaning. I felt that I had overlooked something. Immortal Finger thought for me and gave me the answer. That's right. Cleansing water GU only has one use, that is to remove the aura of foreign primeval essence in the aperture. Why does Guo Lian need it? This situation is too common, it happens frequently in many villages. It should be for Kai faction's inheritor. Kai faction's inheritor's aptitude is terrible, so Guo Lian injected primeval essence and raised his cultivation. To get rid of the repercussions, he needs the cleansing water GU. For some reason, Fang Yuan got hold of this secret and used it to threaten Kai faction, forcing them to compromise and give him the liquor worm. Tai Ruo Nan mumbled as she spoke of her conjecture. Lady Tai, you are too amazing. Just from this point, you can deduce so many things. But Guo City clearly has B-grade aptitude. Fang Jing said. B-grade aptitude, can't he cheat? It is too easy to prove this. As long as we check Chiching's aperture, the truth will be revealed. Tai Ruo Nan's gaze shone as her lips curled up. No. Tai Xueleng shook his head. If the truth was found out, it would be a severe blow to Kai faction and cause turmoil in the higher-ups of Guo village, causing political strife. Tai Xueleng said, we are here to solve the case, not to cause destruction. We are outsiders after all, unless we have no other choice, we should not interfere in other clans' politics. Tai Ruo Nan nodded, father is right. But other than this method, there are other ways to prove it. I remember that for every important sacrificial ceremony, the clan would use the photo-audio GU to record it. This is a tradition. I believe Guo clan is no exception. I want to check the video of that awakening ceremony. Divine Investigator Tai, you have been working hard for so many days to solve this case. Please have some tea. As for the video you want to check, it is stored in the secret room in the underground cave of my clan's forbidden area. It is not convenient for the 2 of you to enter, but I have already sent people to retrieve it. Just wait here for a while. Guo Bo sat and said with a smile. Sorry to disturb clan leader. Tai Xueleng said politely. Tai Ruo Nan and Guo Fangjing were standing at the side. Divine Investigator Tai, I have a presumptuous request. Guo Bo suddenly said. Tai Xueleng said, oh? Clan leader, please speak. This is our Qing Maro Mountains internal matter. My clan, Bai clan and Xiong clan have always been in a stalemate. Now that the wolf tide has caused the 3 clans' strength to fluctuate, Xiong clan evaded with evil intentions and tried to use the wolf tide to weaken the other 2 clans. Our previous negotiations for compensation did not have an ideal result. Thus, our 3 clans discussed and held a 3-clan tournament. Only young GU masters below 30 years of age will participate, using the future strength of each clan to determine the victor. Saying so, Guo Bo sighed. I had already sensed something strange with Fang Yuan, but I did not investigate it in detail because of the wolf tide. If he really is the culprit, my clan will not protect him. But I hope Divine Investigator Tai can delay it for a few days. After all, the 3-clan tournament is the day after tomorrow. Fang Yuan killed Old Man Wang's entire family. They were all mortals and were not worth pursuing. If he killed them, So be it. It was no big deal. But if Fang Yuan really killed Zhao Jinsheng,
Chapter 184.
the situation would be completely
It's about
different.
time. I can't
If
wait
Guo
any
clan
longer.
still protected
Night
Fang
had
Yuan,
already fallen.
they would become
In the
enemies
dark
with the
room,
Zhao clan.
Fang Yuan
no
opened
more
his
Zhao
eyes.
clan caravans
He had
would
already
come to
taken
trade
off
with
his
them,
GU
and
master
it might
attire
even
and
attract
wore
the
a black
Zhao clan's
robe that
revenge.
covered his legs.
Organizations
Together
would
with his
protect
long
their
black
internal
hair,
members.
he looked like
But
a
if it
spectre
involved
in
a
the
huge
dark.
threat to their
In his
interests,
previous
then they
life,
would abandon
he was
one or
already
two
used to
members.
having long hair.
Any mature
Some GU
organization
worms
would be
needed
familiar
long hair
with
to
this.
display their might.
The earliest
For
formation of
example,
organizations
black-hair
was
GU,
in the remote
Steelman
antiquity
GU,
era,
and so on.
Due to the
Long
pressure of
hair was
survival,
very
humans
convenient.
gathered together
Sometimes
and borrowed
when
each
he
other's
needed to
strength
change
to
his
gather more
appearance,
food.
he would cut
This
his hair
way,
short.
hunting would
But
be more
short hair
successful.
could only grow in
the
a short
essence of
period
any
of time with the
organization
power
was to
of GU
obtain more
worms.
benefits. Not long ago, he made an agreement with Guiyue and Mo Chen. Till now, the pig iron GU and the 40,000 yuan stone had been delivered to Fang Yuan in batches. Only the grass GU for healing was not in his hands. Without healing GU, I can only forget about it. How can everything go according to plan? Reality is full of helplessness. Fang Yuan sighed and stood up. He lightly pushed open the door and used the stealth scales GU, disappearing into the night. He was forced by the situation and had no choice but to take action. The Tai father and daughter were pressing harder and harder, and his plan to go to Xiong clan was also stopped. Most of Xiong clan's strength was preserved, causing Bai clan and Guiyue clan to not dare to pressure them too much. Thus, their request for compensation ended in failure, and the three sides agreed to hold a three-clan competition. Although the Mo faction wanted to recruit Fang Yuan, this caused Fang Yuan to be caught in a political struggle, causing the other clan elders to view him with enmity. Adding on the fact that Bai Ningbing was getting stronger the closer he got to death, the situation was getting more and more disadvantageous for Fang Yuan, forcing him into a desperate situation. Fang Yuan was a schemer, but his schemes needed to be supported by his own strength. Facing such a situation, even if he tried his best and improved greatly compared to his previous life, his rank 3 initial stage cultivation was still not enough to break out of this predicament. The situation is deteriorating. I can only make a risky move and use a strong medicine. Fang Yuan pondered and placed his thoughts on the heavenly essence treasure lotus. As long as he plucked the heavenly essence treasure lotus, the spirit spring in the underground cave would be destroyed. The clan would definitely conduct a frantic investigation, but what else could they do other than investigate? The spirit spring had already been destroyed. Even if he retrieved the heavenly essence treasure lotus and placed it back into the spirit spring, or even destroyed it, he would not be able to restore the spirit spring. If the clan wanted to survive, what else could they do? There was only one way, and that was to seize a new spirit spring. However, there were only 3 spirit springs on Qing Maro Mountain, and each one was occupied by 3 families. If one of them was destroyed by Fang Yuan, then the Guiyue clan would only have one choice. 2 choices. That choice was war. There were 2 choices. The first was the Bai family, and the second was the Xiong family. Only by seizing the spirit spring of one of them would the Guiyue clan have the material foundation to exist. Without the support of a spirit spring, a GU master could not cultivate at all. However, this move was extremely dangerous. Fang Yuan had no other choice. The spring-autumn cicada was recovering faster and faster. His aperture could no longer bear the burden. He didn't have much time, so he could only fight back and fight for a chance of survival in the face of death. In the hall, the lights were lit. The GU master had already taken out the photo-audio GU, but this GU was in Guiyue Bo's hands. Divine Investigator Tai, what do you think of my request? Guiyue Bo smiled. Tai Ruo Nan lightly snorted. Tai Xueleng pondered for a moment, then nodded. All right, if we find out that Fang Yuan is the culprit, I will also leave enough time for him to participate in the 3-clan competition. Father. Tai Ruo Nan's eyes flashed with a strange light. This was not Tai Xueleng's style. He. Divine Investigator Tai's words are worth a lot. He never goes back on his words. I trust you completely, and thank you for your understanding. Guiyue Bo's smile became even more warm, but he was coldly snorting in his heart. Guiyue Yaroji had secretly led the Tai father and daughter pair into the underground cave to read the clan's official history books. As the clan leader, how could he not know about this? It was just that the competition was near, and at the same time, the clan's political struggles were complicated, so he restrained himself. Although Tai Shueleng was a rank 5 expert, his great strength could not stifle the dissatisfaction in Guobo's heart. Fortunately, the true contents are all recorded in the clan's secret history book, and only the clan leader knows about it. That official history book is only for outsiders to read. Guobo was secretly pleased. Guo clan's history books were divided into official history and secret history. The official history book was kept in the secret room in the underground cave, and the contents were covered up by the later generations, mixing truth and falsehood to fool people. As for the secret history book, it recorded the true contents without a trace of falsehood. There were even many secrets that could not be divulged, recorded in the records. For example, how to summon the flying guillotine. There was absolutely no such thing in the official history book, only the secret history book recorded it in detail. Clan leader Guo, my father has already agreed to your request, can you show us the recording now? Tai Ruonan's tone was not pleasant. Even if divine investigator Tai did not agree, I would still do my best to cooperate with you in the investigation. Guobo smiled as he clarified, and with a light pinch, the photo-audio GU was crushed. This GU was crushed, but it turned into a lump of 7-colored smoke, mixed with all sorts of noises. Guobo opened his mouth and blew lightly, and this smoke floated to a wall, entering it. Like a drop of ink falling into water, the pure white wall soon had a rainbow imprint. The imprint grew larger and larger until it formed an image. It was the scene of the awakening ceremony. In this image, Fangjing quickly found himself, as well as many familiar faces. These faces were all excitedly looking around the cave, their faces filled with the immaturity of youths. Like a fledgling that had just spread its wings and flew out of its nest. That is Fang Yuan. Similarly, Tai Ruonan also quickly found Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan walked in the group, although he looked around, his gaze was calm and cold. Among his peers, he was like a crane among chickens. He was shocked. His pupils expanded, and his mouth opened wide, without a trace of his usual demeanor as a tribe leader. This was the first time Fangjing had seen Guobo show such an expression. Renzu's 10 sons, eldest son Verdant Great Sun, second daughter Guo Desolate Yin, the 10 sons had heaven-defying aptitude, and were feared by heaven and earth, none of them had long lives. In the GU Master world, the 10 sons represented the top 10 aptitude. That was, the 10 extreme physiques. Renzu's 10 sons died one after another, and Renzu also died of old age. At the final moment, Renzu took the corpses of his 10 sons, and sacrificed himself, throwing them into the stomach of Derivation Gu. Derivation Gu's stomach burst open, and countless rays of life fell on the ground, forming the first batch of mortals. These mortals did not have the aptitude of Renzu or the 10 sons, but they could awaken their apertures and cultivate. Thus, humanity multiplied for generations, forming the scale it is today. Of course, this is all a legend. But according to the legend, every one of us has the blood of Renzu and his 10 sons flowing in our bodies. Tai Ruonan continued, it is just that in some people, the different bloodlines are sparse, and they mutually restrict each other, thus it is not obvious. But some people are born with a relatively dense bloodline. Or as they grow older or cultivate, it slowly becomes extreme, and one bloodline suppresses the others. When it is shown, it is the 10 extreme physique. Then what is this 10 extreme physique? Fangjing asked. Don't tell me, this Fang Yuan actually has the aptitude of the 10 extreme physiques. Guobo was shocked. That is very likely. Only the 10 extreme physiques can make Fang Yuan so calm, and have low requirements for cultivation resources. And only the 10 extreme physiques that surpass a grade can make Fang Yuan feel no jealousy or envy towards Fangjing. Only the 10 extreme physiques can make Fang Yuan not dare to reveal it, afraid of being killed in advance, so he chose to cheat and hide it. Tai Ruonan spoke quickly. Even Tai Shueleng would not think of rebirth. The young girl was even more so. Under all sorts of coincidences, she came to a conclusion that was the exact opposite of the truth. After hearing this, everyone was dumbstruck. Tai Ruonan's deduction was backed by evidence, causing everyone to unconsciously believe it. If it was not this reason, what other explanation could there be? That's right, That's right. 10 extreme physiques, 10 extreme physiques, should be the Guyue desolate yin physique. Guyue Bo was overwhelmed with emotions, his body trembling in excitement. Others might not understand, but he had the clan's secret history, and knew many secrets. Hundreds of years ago, the first-generation ancestor established the village here, and named it the Guyue village. In reality, before this, the first generation was not surnamed Guyue. Why did the first generation take the name Guyue? This was a mystery. But before the first generation died, he had sighed, passing down the bloodline, 100-year plan, Guyue desolate yin physique, the world will panic. He left behind a will, and in it, he predicted that in the future, a Gu master would appear in the Guyue village, possessing one of the 10 extreme physiques, the Guyue desolate yin physique. He would make the world panic, and bring Guyue village to glory. The will also told the descendants, if one day, such a physique really appears, they should bring it to the Blood Lake graveyard. As the clan leader, Guyue Bo naturally understood the drawbacks of the 10 extreme physiques. But when he looked into the will, he found that the first-generation ancestor seemed to have a method to overcome the drawbacks. And this method was left in the coffin in the graveyard, accompanying him in his eternal sleep. If a genius with the Guyue desolate yin physique really appears, he should be brought to the coffin. To think that Guyue Fang Yuan is that prophesied genius, Guyue desolate yin physique. Guyue Bo roared in his heart. This is impossible. How could brother cheat in front of everyone's eyes? Fangzheng's heart was extremely shaken, he shook his head repeatedly, unable to accept this deduction. Tai Ruo Nan looked at him pitifully. Since Kai Cheng can cheat, why can't Fang Yuan? The 10 extreme physiques have endless mysteries, it is hard to imagine. Maybe Fang Yuan had already awakened his aperture, or maybe he was able to deceive Bamboo Gentleman because of the 10 extreme physiques. Maybe Jiao Jin Sheng was killed by Fang Yuan because he unintentionally saw through Fang Yuan's secret. Tai clan girl, be careful with your words. Guyue Bo's expression was very unhappy, his voice gloomy. You can't speak so carelessly. Whether Jiao Jin Sheng was killed by Fang Yuan or not, it is still uncertain. Fang Yuan is a member of our clan, even if he really killed him, how we explain it to the Jiao clan is our problem. You are only in charge of investigating the case. The Jiu clan leader's attitude instantly had a complete change. Previously, he thought that Fang Yuan had C-grade talent, and there was no possibility of investing. But now, Fang Yuan actually had Guyue's desolate yin physique. When it involved the ancestor's prophecy and will, his value was immediately different. I have to protect him, even if it means offending the Jiao clan, I have to do it. Damn it. This Guyue clan leader turned his back on me, he is too shameless, his attitude changed so quickly. I should not have revealed the secret of the 10 extreme physiques so early. The 10 extreme physiques are talents above a grade talent. Looks like clan leader Guyue wants to protect Fang Yuan. This will make it very difficult for me to solve the case. Father, what should I do? Tai Ruo Nan's heart sank, she gritted her teeth and subconsciously looked for her father's figure. Hey, where is father? The young girl was stunned. Divine investigator Tai was just there, but in the blink of an eye, he had disappeared. This discovery made Guyue Bo instantly nervous. Where could Tai Xueleng go at this time? Clan leader Guyue naturally thought of Fang Yuan. Fangzheng, I will go look for your brother first. Go inform the other clan elders to quickly gather and find me. After saying this, Guyue Bo activated his Gu worm and flew out of the window. Tai Ruo Nan snorted coldly and ran out of the room, rushing towards Fang Yuan's residence. In the entire hall, only Fangzheng was left. How can this be? Guyue Fangzheng's condition was extremely bad. His face was pale and his body was on the verge of collapse, as if his spine had been sucked dry. He felt like the world was in darkness. He felt like the sky was about to collapse. How could it be like this? Brother's aptitude is actually one of the 10 extreme physiques. Compared to the 10 extreme physiques, my grade aptitude is like a clay chicken or a clay dog. Thinking about it, Fangzheng's tears flowed down his face. At this moment, all the energy in his heart was sucked dry. All along, his greatest pride was that his aptitude surpassed Fang Yuan's. His confidence was built on this aspect. But now, Someone told him the truth: his aptitude was far from his brother's. His proudest and most confident aspect was suppressed by Fang Yuan. The confidence that he had built up with great difficulty completely collapsed at this moment. "Brother!" He raised his head, tears flowing down his face. He screamed helplessly in his heart. "From start to end, were you just watching the show? Watching me jump up and down, watching my clown-like performance?" The corner of his eyes glanced at the painting wall again. The image changed, the figures became mottled, and countless voices exclaimed at Feng Zheng's performance on the other side. Only Fang Yuan stood in the crowd, calmly watching. He just calmly looked at it. Fang Zheng suddenly felt that this image of him, wrapped in the light of hope, was so childish, so glaring. And in his heart, Fang Yuan's calm black eyes seemed to reveal the gaze of a god. His figure gradually rose higher and higher, becoming an insurmountable mountain that reached the horizon. That pair of calm eyes looked down at the foot of the mountain, at Feng Zheng's humble figure. That pair of eyes seemed to be saying, "Fang Zheng, my laughable brother, you can't, you can't, you can't." Like an echo in the valley, it echoed in Feng Zheng's heart. He felt stifled. An unparalleled stifling to the point that he could not breathe properly. He once thought that he had completely gotten rid of this feeling, but he did not expect that this feeling would come back to him today. In fact, it was 100 times stronger than before. "Arth! I'm going to die, I'm going to die." Feng Zheng's face twitched, and the veins on his forehead popped. He was immersed in his own fantasy, his hand tightly clutching his throat. With a plop, he knelt on the ground. Because of the lack of oxygen, his face was red, and he stuck out his tongue. His eyes gradually bulged out of their sockets. "No. I don't want to die, I really don't want to die." His other hand gripped the floor tiles, and he used too much force. His nails were peeled off, and fresh blood flowed. The excruciating pain made Feng Zheng's desire to live burn even more. His body wasn't injured at all, but his heart had already suffered a fatal wound. He could not get up, and the pride that supported him had been shattered. He felt that he had no face to see anyone, and he could not face reality, and his brother. He had become a huge joke, a bitter satire. His heart was like dead ashes, but within the ashes, there was still a little bit of red that had not been extinguished. So what if you have the 10 absolute aptitude? Brother, you've made a mistake. You've killed someone, you shouldn't have. Yes, that's right. In his previous life, he established the Bloodwing Demon sect with the Bladewing Bloodbat as its symbol. With the resources of the demonic sect, he was able to raise close to 10,000 Bladewing Bloodbat GU. They were ferocious and fearsome. More accurately, he established his career with the Bladewing Bloodbat GU. In his previous life, 400 years later, he accidentally obtained an inheritance of the Blood Sea ancestor. Relying on the Bladewing Bloodbat group and his own rank 5 cultivation, he became an overlord. This Bloodsea ancestor was a rank 7 demonic GU master with a notorious reputation. He killed people like flies, and his name was recorded in the annals of history. He was originally a mortal, but by chance, he became a demonic GU master. He climbed all the way from the lowest level, and used 800 years to become a demonic overlord. His aptitude was not high, and the primeval essence in his aperture was limited. He always had a fanatical research interest in GU fusion. Wild GU had a natural will, and could absorb the natural primeval essence in the air. But when a wild GU was refined by a GU master, and its body was dominated by the human's will, it would lose the ability to absorb the surrounding primeval essence, and could only absorb the primeval essence in the GU master's aperture. The Bloodsea ancestor had always wanted to research a GU that could be refined by a GU master, but could also absorb natural primeval essence. The righteous GU masters were extremely afraid of this, and were extremely worried that the Blood Sea ancestor would succeed. They had organized several righteous GU masters to surround and kill him. The Blood Sea ancestor did not succeed in the end, but he did not fail completely. He explored the fusion recipes of the Bladewing Bloodbat, Blood Guillotine, and Blood Frenzy GU. The rank 3 Bladewing Bloodbat GU was his first achievement. It was extremely easy to raise, but it still required the GU master to provide Primeval essence. However, this Bladewing Bloodbat group was a very special group. The GU master only needed to control the male bat to indirectly command all the other female bats. The Blood Frenzy GU was his second achievement. This GU was formless and was a lump of blood chi, and could only survive by attaching itself to other objects. This GU was rank 4, and its effect was very special. Any GU worm that came into contact with its aura would be able to absorb natural Primeval essence from time to time. But it had a huge drawback. The GU worms affected by the Blood Frenzy GU would gradually lose control of the GU master. After a period of time, they would turn into a pool of blood. The Blood Guillotine was the Blood Sea ancestor's final achievement. This GU was rank 5, and was undoubtedly more mature than the previous two. It combined nurturing and usage, using battle to nurture battle, and devouring the GU master's blood to reproduce and divide. It no longer needed the master to provide Primeval essence. Unfortunately, after the Blood Sea ancestor created the Blood Guillotine, he was besieged by the righteous GU masters in the chaotic battle, and was exhausted and defeated. He suffered a fatal injury that could not be healed, and escaped from the heavy encirclement using blood escape. The righteous GU masters were worried that he would counterattack at the last minute and endanger themselves, so they did not have the intention to pursue him, and watched as he escaped. From then on, every time these righteous GU masters thought back, they would regret their actions of letting the enemy go so easily. The Blood Sea ancestor knew he was going to die for sure, and started to spread his inheritance. Using the limited time before his death, he used his rank 7 GU master abilities to set up hundreds of thousands of secret inheritance grounds, located in Central Continent, Southern Border, and other places. Before his death, he laughed strangely. The blood path is not lonely, leaving behind a venomous legacy for all ages. His words were not false at all. From then on, countless GU masters benefited from this, and the demonic path flourished. Be it the Bladewing Bloodbat GU, the Blood Frenzy GU or the Blood Guillotine, they were all extremely easy to raise and reproduce. Maybe in some unremarkable valley, in a shabby village, in an uninhabited desert, beside a mountain path, there would be 2 or 3 GU left by the Blood Sea ancestor. These GU were easy to raise, and did not require much Primeval essence, so they were easily used by GU masters with ordinary aptitude. Surviving in such a world, where one's life was precarious, which GU master would not desire more power? The GU worms left by the Blood Sea ancestor represented a completely new kind of power. This kind of power was fast and convenient, and was undoubtedly more popular than other GU worms. Power itself was not sinful, it was good when used for good, and evil when used for evil. But in this world, how many people could have a firm heart, to be able to control the sudden increase in power? Just like when a man is rich, he would often become a playboy. The sudden increase in power would nourish the wild ambitions that they had never had before. Thus, many GU masters, after obtaining the Blood Sea ancestors' inheritance, became demons who killed in all directions. There were even many righteous path members who changed sides because of this. The inheritance of the Blood GU brought great turmoil and harm to the whole world. In the inheritance that the Blood Sea ancestor set up, there were usually only 2 or 3 GU. But these inheritances were like a spark, and if one was not careful, they would start a prairie fire. Almost every once in a while, there would be demonic GU masters who grasped the Blood GU, causing trouble. Some of these people failed, and were killed in the village. Some succeeded temporarily, and formed a general trend, causing harm to one side. Whether they succeeded temporarily or failed, they would unwillingly leave behind a new blood inheritance at some point in time. Thus, the blood calamity was endless, and not only did it not decline because of the Blood Sea ancestor's death and the righteous path's all-out attack, it instead became even more prosperous, with a deep foundation that could not be eradicated, and had a trend of never ending. As a result, the righteous path members would often curse in pain, "These damned blood GU masters. I clearly remember that I have already killed wave after wave. But if I am not careful, and look up again, who knows where, a new batch will appear." By now, the Blood Sea inheritance was publicly recognized as the world's most popular and most numerous inheritance. There was no other. Strictly speaking, in his previous life, Fang Yuan had also received the Blood Sea ancestors' inheritance. In my previous life, I only found a Blood Sea inheritance after 400 years, and started to dominate it. If I can subdue these blood bats in this life, it would be equivalent to advancing my efforts by 400 years. The blood bats rushed over, but Fang Yuan was not afraid in the face of danger. He had the spring-autumn cicada, and his rank 6 aura was enough to make these bats collapse without a fight. The only thing he needed to be wary of was the rank 5 snake python that was hidden in the blood lake. But something is not right with this situation. Back when the Blood Sea ancestor set up his inheritance, there were usually only 2 or 3 GU. Why are there more than 100 bladewing blood bats here? Could it be that the rumor is true? Rumor had it that the Blood Sea ancestor had set up a deceptive formation. Although he had set up hundreds of thousands of inheritances, there were only a few that he wanted to pass down. In these few inheritances, there were the Blood Sea ancestor's proudest GU worms, research insights, or fusion recipes. Could it be that this is the true inheritance ground of the Blood Sea ancestor? Fang Yuan naturally thought of this, and his heart pounded. His thoughts raced. Although he thought of a lot of things, not much time had passed in the outside world. The bladewing blood bats swarmed towards him. Fang Yuan's expression was calm. With his long hair and black robes, he climbed up the mountain wall and was about to summon the spring-autumn cicada. But at this moment, a sudden change occurred. As expected, there is a blood calamity hidden here. A deep and firm voice that sounded like iron and stone came from the top of the cave, and then it reverberated above the Blood Sea. Chapter 188. Tai Xueleng, why did he suddenly appear here? Fang Yuan heard this voice and was shocked. This loud sound reverberated in the air above the blood lake, causing turbulent waves of blood to surge. "This is the heaven and earth grand sound Gu?" Fang Yuan gritted his teeth. The loud voice entered his ears, making him feel as if his whole head was buzzing. The heaven and earth grand sound Gu was a rank 5 sound type Gu. Once activated, it could form a sound wave attack with a wide range. It was an extremely strong AoE type Gu. The voice that Fang Yuan heard now was just Tai Shuelung's small test. He shouted softly and did not really activate it. This degree was like Fang Yuan using the Moonlight Gu to grind the purple gold rock. It was just a subtle control of the Gu worm. Of course, the heaven and earth grand sound Gu had its drawbacks. If activated for a long time, the Gu master's vocal cords and throat would be overly burdened. Once these burdens exceeded the limit, the Gu master would become mute and lose the ability to speak. Bam! A huge force suddenly exploded and blood splattered everywhere. The upper body of the giant python appeared in Fang Yuan's vision. Blood River Python. Fang Yuan's pupils shrunk. This python's body was covered in glossy blood-red scales and its head was as huge as an elephant. There was a patch of golden bone spikes on its eyebrows, showing off its ferocious and violent aura. Blood River Python. I remember in the Guo clan's history, not long after the first clan leader established the village, a Blood River Python appeared and posed a huge threat to the Guo village. Legend has it that the first clan leader killed it. Could it be? Fang Yuan's heart moved as he thought of something. The Blood River Python was huge and its head was tall. Its purple eyes stared at Fang Yuan with a cruel gaze. It was cruel and unruly, feeding on blood. Even using the spring-autumn cicada's aura to intimidate it would only make it more violent. Among the rank 5 Gu worms, it was one of the hardest to be refined by a Gu master. However, after glancing at Fang Yuan on the mountain wall, the blood sea python raised its head high and turned to the top of the cave. At the top of the cave, an equally tiny figure slowly floated down from one of the caves. He wore a bronze mask, his hands behind his back, and his gaze was cold. Although compared to the Blood River Python, he was as small as an ant, a majestic aura emanated from his body. An enormous invisible pressure filled the surroundings, as if a god had descended to the mortal world. Righteous Gu. It was a mental Gu and could only be activated by someone who upheld justice. Scoundrels and weak-willed people would often tremble in fear under the influence of the righteous Gu and have a guilty conscience. Their battle intent would rapidly drop and they would feel like they could not fight Tai Shuelung, thus collapsing without a fight. Creak creak creak. Under the oppression of morality, the blade-wing blood bat Gu panicked and let out a sharp cry. As if a heavy burden had been placed on their bodies, their 2 pairs of wings flapped repeatedly as they struggled to fly in the air, sometimes up and sometimes down. They could not even take care of themselves and did not approach Fang Yuan. Even the ferocious Blood River Python slightly lowered its head, feeling Tai Shuelung's supreme might. What a righteous Gu! Fang Yuan sneered as he climbed on the mountain wall. This righteous Gu's oppression had no effect on him. Only those with weak wills would be severely weakened. He was a demonic path overlord and had a heart as strong as steel. How could he be frightened by this illusory aura? Hey! Fang Yuan's nonchalance caused Tai Shuelung to gasp in surprise. The righteous Gu had been with him for many years, and he deeply understood its effect. The righteous Gu's effect could be big or small, attacking the heart. Sometimes it could achieve miraculous results, but other times it would be useless. But there were very few situations where it would be useless. Even righteous path figures would feel the pressure in their hearts. After all, factions could not determine good or evil, and no one was perfect. But Tai Shuelung knew Fang Yuan's sins. When he first met him, he had already placed a Gu on Fang Yuan's body to track him. From then on, Tai Shuelung could faintly sense the changes in Fang Yuan's surroundings. Most people who committed sins would have their wills shaken under the influence of the righteous Gu. However, Tai Shuelung had met many demonic Gu masters who fought fiercely under the influence of the righteous Gu and were not affected. There is only one type of person who will not be affected by the righteous Gu even if they commit a crime. These are people with true demonic nature. From the deepest part of their hearts, they are paranoid and crazy, not treating their sins as sins, but as something that should be done. To think that this Fang Yuan's demonic nature is so deep. Mph, let's get rid of this great demon first. If he is lucky enough to survive, we can deal with him later. Tai Shueleng hated evil and snorted, turning his gaze towards the Blood River Python. The moment he appeared, he was locked on by the Blood River Python. As long as he diverted his attention to kill Fang Yuan, he would definitely reveal a flaw. Tai Shueleng had terrifying injuries, and with a strong enemy hiding behind the scenes, he could be spying on him. At this moment, he did not dare to divert his attention. He stared at the Blood River Python for a moment, then his gaze went past it and landed on the blood lake behind it. Not long ago, he had received a mysterious letter. The letter had concrete evidence, pointing out that there was a blood calamity hidden in Guyue village. This letter was carried by a white crane and dropped from the sky. Its origin was also very suspicious. But Tai Shueleng would rather believe it than not, because the blood calamity was not a small matter and could not be careless. If he was not careful, it would suddenly expand and spread everywhere, bringing disaster to all living beings. The best way to deal with it was to take advantage of the fact that the blood calamity had yet to take shape and extinguish this seed of chaos. Coincidentally, he had another request on hand. It was Jiao Fu paying a huge sum of money to investigate the cause of Jiao Jinsheng's death. Tai Shueleng brought his daughter and rushed to Qing Maro Mountain in advance. He ordered his daughter to investigate Jiao Jinsheng's case. On one hand, it was to nurture and train Tai Ruo Nan. On the other hand, it was to deceive others and stall for time while he investigated the details behind the scenes. The first time he met Fang Yuan, he had used the touching sensation Ji on Fang Yuan. Chapter 189. This cave entrance was not big and should have been buried by the red soil. But this time, the blood lake unceasingly surged with monstrous blood waves, causing the surrounding scarlet soil to be washed away and collapse, sinking into the lake. Thus, the cave entrance was revealed. No matter what, this cave entrance seemed to be a source of hope. Fang Yuan immediately changed his direction and swam towards the cave entrance. Boom! In the air, there was another intense explosion. A huge air current rushed towards the surroundings, pushing Fang Yuan forward fiercely. Damn it! He cursed. Large amounts of red soil collapsed and buried the cave entrance again. Iron hand grappling Ji. In the air, Tai Shueleng took a deep breath and slowly stretched out his right hand. In front of him, ripples appeared in the air and a huge black iron hand appeared, pressing down on the Blood River Python's tail. The Blood River Python struggled with all its might, but its scales were wet and slippery. The iron hand could not hold on and slid through the snake scales, causing golden red sparks to burst out as it escaped. But Tai Shueleng had rich battle experience and was not discouraged. Suddenly, he tilted his head back and puffed his cheeks, blowing at the Blood River Python. Whoosh! A jet of black oil poured down like a waterfall. In the air, it turned into a dragon, baring its fangs and claws as it coiled around the Blood River Python. Oil Dragon Gu. The Blood River Python was furious, roaring and biting. The black oil dragon's size was not inferior to the Blood River Python's, but it was only a rank 4 and did not have a physical body. In a short while, it was torn apart by the Blood River Python. Tai Shueleng laughed instead. Beasts were beasts. If a Gu master was controlling it, they would be able to see through this classic and ordinary battle tactic. But the Blood River Python was only refined. Although it had a Gu master's will, it did not have the intelligence of a normal person. The oil dragon was destroyed and the oil dragon Gu in the aperture also suffered a backlash. Tai Shueleng did not care and stopped activating the oil dragon Gu, starting to activate the fire dragon Gu. He shouted and his body shook. A flame-like Gu shot out from his aperture and quickly turned into a fire snake, coiling around his body. The fire snake flew out and became bigger. In the blink of an eye, it grew scales and extended eagle claws, antlers, a horse's face and sharp teeth. It turned into a giant fire dragon. This fire dragon Gu was only rank 4, but when it fought with the Blood River Python, it made the Blood River Python roar in pain. Because the oil dragon had been destroyed, a large amount of black oil had stained the Blood River Python's body. Now that the oil was tangled with the fire dragon, the python's body was suddenly set on fire, roasting the blood river python. Other than the snake's body, the black oil was also floating on the surface of the lake. At this moment, it was ignited. The scarlet lake of blood ignited into a sea of fire that soared into the sky. The temperature of the air rose rapidly. The fire dragon was no match for the blood river python. It suffered heavy injuries and its body became smaller and smaller. But every time this happened, it would dive into the sea of fire and roll around, and its body would regain some of its majesty. In this sea of flames, Huolong had the geographical advantage. The blood river python and the fire dragon fought for a while. The snake's body was constantly being burned, and the smell of charred flesh wafted through the air. The blood river python was violent by nature. Once it was oppressed, it would erupt with a powerful counterattack. But at this moment, it had no choice but to retreat. He abandoned the fire dragon and plunged into the depths of the blood sea. Man is the spirit of all living things, possessing the wisdom to innovate. The soil and rocks continued to gather, and the rockman became bigger and bigger. From the initial 1 meter, it rapidly grew to 3 meters, 5 meters, 8 meters, finally reaching 18 meters. Giant hill puppet Gu, a giant that could support heaven and earth, descended upon the battlefield of the blood lake. Its 2 legs stood in the depths of the blood lake, the lake water only reaching its waist. Its body was extremely majestic, its arms could run carriages, and its fists could stand on top of an elephant. Its face was simple and unadorned, an enlarged version of the bronze mask. Fire dragon, come. It opened its mouth, its voice shaking the heaven and earth. The fire dragon that was tumbling in the sea of fire flew up and coiled around the giant puppet's right arm like a snake, its head resting on the giant puppet's right shoulder. Then, the oil dragon Gu flew out and turned into a pitch-black oil dragon, coiling around the giant puppet's left arm and resting its head on its left shoulder. The 2 dragons on the left and right, the giant hill puppet, descended like a mighty deity. Fang Yuan swam towards the cave entrance with all his might. Just now, the soil and rocks had gathered to form the giant puppet, causing the red soil that was covering the cave entrance to disappear, revealing the cave entrance again. This battlefield was getting more and more dangerous, the cave entrance could be buried again at any time, so Fang Yuan did not dare to stay for long. The sea of fire gradually extinguished, and the blood lake suddenly surged with towering red waves. Blood river python attacked from the lake, coiling around the giant puppet and slithering upwards. The giant snake's head was like a battering ram, aiming at the giant puppet's face. This attack was extremely powerful, and if it were to hit directly, half of the giant puppet's head would be smashed into pieces. Iron hand grappling. The giant puppet shouted, and the air split open as an iron hand flew out, grabbing the snake's head. With a loud bang, the iron hand was destroyed, and the blood river python's attack was also stopped. Tai Shui Lung won a breather, and the giant puppet grabbed the blood river python's body with both hands. The oil dragon and fire dragon waited for an opportunity, climbing onto the blood river python. The 2 dragons merged together, forming a blazing flame that roasted the blood river python. The blood river python roared in pain, struggling with all its might. But this time, how could Tai Shui Lung allow it to escape so easily? The giant puppet's hands were like iron pincers, tightly restraining the blood river python. The blood river python could not escape, and its body was roasted black, emitting the smell of burnt flesh. Its ferocious nature was stimulated, and it did not try to escape anymore. Its slender body coiled around the giant puppet's body again, and it started to contract fiercely, launching a strangling attack. Although the giant puppet was made of mountain rocks, the red soil was soft, and after being twisted by the blood river python, its waist quickly shrunk. Cracking sounds could be heard, and rubble flew everywhere. Under the stimulation of death, the blood river python exploded with great strength. Fang Yuan finally reached the edge of the cave entrance with one hand, and the giant puppet suddenly coughed a few times. Tai Shui Lung's old illness had relapsed. The giant puppet's hands loosened, and the blood river python hissed, its body moving forward by a large margin. The giant puppet tightened its grip, and the blood river python opened its mouth wide, revealing its sharp fangs. The snake's head moved forward crazily, but it was just a short distance away. The Blood River Python's counterattack failed, and it gradually lost its strength, about to be burned to death. But at this moment, a dense blood mist suddenly rose from the center of the blood lake. Blood frenzy GU. A trace of fear flashed in Fang Yuan's eyes, and he quickly climbed up the cave entrance, moving deeper into the depths. The blood mist quickly spread, and the flames on the surface of the blood lake were completely extinguished. A whirlpool appeared in the center of the blood lake. The whirlpool became larger and larger. At first it was only in the center, but it quickly spread, and the edges of the whirlpool touched the surrounding walls. TMPH, first generation Guyue, you finally couldn't endure it anymore. The giant puppet snorted coldly. At the center of the whirlpool, a huge wave suddenly surged 10 meters above the surface of the lake. In the wave of blood, a vertical red coffin slowly rose, revealing itself. He. A dry and strange voice came from the coffin, making people feel a chill down their spines. Junior, you dare to spoil my plans. You are courting death. I will fulfill your wish. Before the voice finished, the coffin lid was ejected, and a shriveled corpse appeared. He had a scarlet face and sharp fangs, his hair was red like blood, and in his deep eye sockets, his eyes were like burning charcoal that was about to be extinguished. He had no skin, and red strips of withered muscles were attached to his white bones. He looked thin and capable. Junior, thou art injured, yet you still dare to provoke me. Thou shalt die today. The corpse spoke, but there was no movement from his mouth, it was his abdomen. He kept saying I, thou. This was the habit of the ancient people from 1,000 years ago. Rank 5 blood white GU. Is he really the first generation? Fang Yuan was astonished, but not shocked. In this mystical world, there were many GU masters who had lived for hundreds of years. Other than using the most orthodox lifespan GU to increase one's lifespan, some unorthodox methods could also allow people to live forever. For example, the rank 2 roaming zombie GU. If this GU was used for a long time, the GU master would completely turn into a zombie, and as long as they drank blood regularly, they would be able to move freely and live forever. The first gen GUU in front of him was using this method. Blood white GU was an important branch of the rank 5 roaming zombie GU. Together with Azura zombie, heavenly demon zombie, nightmare zombie, and plague zombie, they were known as the 5 great flying zombies. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. He could not activate Spring-Autumn Cicada. What was going on? Spring-Autumn Cicada was his vital GU. It was very important. It was rank 6 and his final trump card, but he could not control it. This situation was too serious. Fang Yuan had to pay close attention to it. In the dark cave, he squinted his eyes. The panic in his heart only lasted for less than half a second before he forced himself to calm down. Thoughts flashed in his mind like lightning. His mind entered his aperture. Spring-Autumn Cicada did not show any changes, it was still recovering rapidly. But no matter how Fang Yuan moved it, it remained in the center, its body did not tremble at all. I understand now. Fang Yuan realized, once this Spring-Autumn Cicada becomes my vital GU, it will stay in my aperture and cannot move anymore. GU were the essence of all living beings, it had endless profundities, it could be said to be of all kinds. Raising, using, and refining GU, these 3 aspects were broad and profound. There were often special standards in these aspects. In terms of raising, GU would only consume specific food. In terms of refining, there were all sorts of requirements. In terms of using, the bamboo gentleman could only be used by a GU master who had never lied in his life. And to use the morality GU, the GU master had to be righteous. Another example was the photo-audio GU. It would die after one use, its image would remain on the wall for a period of time. Chapter 191. Water Screen Skyflower GU was only rank 4, once used, it would turn into a huge spherical water barrier. The water barrier's defense was outstanding and could even block the attack of a rank 5 GU. However, it had a huge drawback, and that was that it could not be moved or stopped. The water barrier isolated the inside from the outside, even the owner of the water curtain Skyflower GU could not enter and exit freely. Many forces used water curtain Skyflower GU to protect their cities. Fang Yuan was not familiar with the spring and autumn cicada. In his previous life, He had just successfully refined the spring-autumn cicada when he was surrounded by the righteous path. He had no time to experiment with it. At that time, the spring-autumn cicada was not his vital GU, so this characteristic was not revealed. In this life, his cultivation level was low, so he didn't dare to release the spring-autumn cicada. The spring-autumn cicada was one of the mystical GU in the world. It was extremely mysterious, and there was no user's knowledge or experience that was passed down in the world. Moreover, GU worms that reached rank 6 and above were unique in the world, there was only one of them. If others wanted to fuse it, there would only be a possibility of success if the previous one died. Otherwise, there was a 100% chance of failure. As a result, Fang Yuan only found out about this characteristic today. Rebirth is not an easy thing. Spring and autumn hide calamities. The recovery speed of the spring and autumn cicada was getting faster and faster. Even if one had an A-grade cultivation base and had access to a large amount of resources, the speed of the cultivation base's growth would not be able to keep up with the speed of the spring and autumn cicada. Sooner or later, a GU master's aperture will burst from the spring-autumn cicada. Fang Yuan gritted his teeth. Although being reborn was wonderful, possessing the spring-autumn cicada was equivalent to possessing half of the 10 extreme physiques. They were born to be hung under the gallows, and when the time came, they would be executed. I can't release the spring and autumn cicada. Could it be that I can only use it to be reborn? Fang Yuan frowned deeply. This seemed to be the only way. If he were to be reborn again, the spring and autumn cicada would once again fall into a weakened state, and at the same time, Fang Yuan would be able to escape from this dangerous situation. However, the above situation seemed ideal, but in fact, there was a huge problem and the risk was huge. First of all, there was no guarantee that every rebirth would be successful. Fang Yuan had been reborn once, and he often reflected on his only precious experience. He combined his understanding with the concepts on Earth. The world was a three-dimensional space, and time was an axis that ran through the ages. There was no time. Space was still. The movement of all things required a process, which meant that it consumed time. There was only one world, and there was no parallel space. Using the spring and autumn cicada to be reborn was to cross from a point in the second half of the timeline to a point in the first half of the timeline. However, Fang Yuan's aged body in the future did not exist in the past. Restricted by the great Tao of heaven and earth, his body could not be brought to the past. He could only self-detonate. The energy produced by the explosion was the driving force, and the spring-autumn cicada contained the fragment of the law of time, like a lonely boat. It carried Fang Yuan's consciousness from the future to the past. Consciousness was not like the human body, which was not purely material. But strictly speaking, this future consciousness did not exist in the past at that point in time. But this was the ingenious part of the matter. The consciousness of the future would guide the GU master to change themselves and influence their surroundings, gradually spreading to the whole world. This was the butterfly effect. When the butterfly effect occurred, the world would be different from what it was before. The consciousness of the future would also have a meaning of existence and be recognized by the great Tao of heaven and earth. Someone once said, history was like a long river. Changing the outcome of an event upstream would cause the downstream to change beyond recognition. This mystical GU world was like the water in a long river. Most people could only follow the current from upstream to downstream. But Fang Yuan's consciousness relied on the spring-autumn cicada to go upstream from downstream. When he made a change upstream, the river water downstream also changed. But the river water was still the river water, and the GU master world was still the GU master world. It was just that history had taken a turn, and changed into another possible outcome. Such an analogy could be easily understood. However, the spring-autumn cicada had not recovered completely, and could only be compared to a broken boat with a hole. Fang Yuan's cultivation was only at rank 3 initial stage, and after self-detonating, there was an unimaginably huge difference from his previous life's rank 6. He could not push the spring-autumn cicada to go against the flow of time for too long. If I self-detonate and rebirth, I might not succeed. Maybe the broken boat will be stranded in the river, and my consciousness and memories will be ruthlessly eroded by time, turning into nothingness. If I want to increase my chances of success, it is best to wait until the aperture's limit. I need to stall for as much time as possible, and let the spring-autumn cicada recover better, and the broken boat will have fewer holes. At the same time, my cultivation will increase, and after self-detonation, I will be able to provide more power to reverse the flow. Thinking of this, Fang Yuan heaved a long sigh. The change in the spring-autumn cicada was somewhat out of his expectations. But he had always been cautious, and had made preparations. Behind him, the blood-bat group flew over, but Fang Yuan's consciousness sank into his aperture. The aperture was filled with yellow-green light, the spring-autumn cicada's aura was majestic, and the white-silver primeval sea was as calm as a mirror, but the aperture walls were showing signs of danger of cracking. All the other GU were suppressed to the bottom of the sea by the spring-autumn cicada's aura. Under Fang Yuan's will, a GU withstood the pressure, and slowly flew out of the sea. This GU was shaped like a die, square, grayish-white in color, and was extremely hard. Back then, Fang Yuan had used the plunder GU to forcefully take some GU worms from Bai Ningbing's aperture, and obtained them. This GU was a consumable GU, disappearing after one use. Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus could produce Yuan Stone, and was extremely rare. But in fact, this effect was only an expression of its innate ability. Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus was known as a mobile spirit spring, and its innate ability was to produce natural primeval essence. This primeval essence, after condensing together, would form Yuan Stone. Fang Yuan had a Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus, and when it was submerged in his aperture's primeval sea, it was like a miniature spirit spring had appeared in his aperture. Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus recipe was created by Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable. Only GU masters who reached rank 9 were respected by the world. In the righteous path, they were called Immortal Venerables. In the demonic path, they were called Demon Venerables. Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable, who had lived for thousands of years, was known as the first person to recover primeval essence since ancient times. In this aspect, he was superior to other Immortal Venerables and Demon Venerables, and the reason was because of Genesis Lotus. Fang Yuan's Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus was only rank 3, and he had just refined it, so it was the lowest grade. But it could already provide Fang Yuan with an endless supply of natural primeval essence. Once this natural primeval essence appeared in his aperture, it was automatically refined by Fang Yuan's aperture, turning into snow-silver primeval essence. If Fang Yuan absorbed the primeval essence in the Yuan Stone, he would have to split a portion of his mind. However, this Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus was his GU. Activating the Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus was as easy as waving his fingers. Fang Yuan retreated as he fought. With the help of the Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus, his primeval essence recovery was already on par with B-grade aptitude GU masters. Kill! He suddenly shouted, and changed his fighting style, charging into the bloodbat group. The chainsaw golden centipede went berserk, and its silver saw teeth rotated crazily, slashing at a blade-wing bloodbat that was hiding behind it. This bloodbat was stronger than ordinary bats of the same species. It was the only male bat in this bloodbat group, and had been refined by the first-generation Guyue. By controlling it, one could indirectly control this bloodbat group. Fang Yuan had secretly stored his strength for this attack, and after observing it for a long time, he used an unintentional move to counter it. The first-generation Guyue was not present, and immediately obtained a miraculous effect. The male bat was killed on the spot, and turned into a pile of blood paste. Without saying a word, he closed in on Bai Zhongshui. Xiong Lin snickered. This battle concerns the 3 clans for the next 100 years. I'll tell you the truth, Guyue clan has formed an alliance with our Xiong clan. Bai Zhongshui, today is the day you die. Pooey. Bai Zhongshui vomited a mouthful of blood. She raised her head and looked around in disdain. So what if I die? Heh, joining hands. You are afraid of my clans Bai Ningbing. It's no use, this is just the first battle, there is still the individual battle. Which of your clans is Bai Ningbing's match? Our Bai clan is destined to be number 1. He. So we have decided, in this first battle, we will join hands and get rid of Bai Ningbing. Xiong Lin laughed loudly. Buzz buzz buzz, the chainsaw golden centipede's silver edges grinded against the stone walls, causing noises to echo in the cave. This stone wall was hard and thick, appearing very strangely. Fang Yuan was sweating profusely, using the chainsaw golden centipede and the blood moon Jiyu to attack. After half a day of effort, he could only grind half a meter. Is it really a dead end, eh? Fang Yuan's heart jumped, suddenly feeling a life force in the stone wall. He quickly used the earth communication ear grass, sticking close to the stone wall and listening. There was indeed a mysterious creature hiding on the other side of the stone wall, but its aura was very weak. Half an hour later, Fang Yuan dug a hole, and the mysterious creature revealed itself. Its whole body was black, emitting a metallic luster, like steel or iron. Whether it was its chest or back, they were all thick and hard lines, showing off its dominance. It had 3 pairs of tentacles, and the tips of each pair of tentacles were in a spiral shape. Fang Yuan could not help but think of the spinning of a ball. So it's the 1,000-li earthwolf spider, Fang Yuan suddenly realized, immediately thinking of the flower wine monk. The fog in Fang Yuan's heart dissipated by half. Back then, the flower wine monk came to the Gua village to cultivate the heavenly essence treasure lotus. But at the last moment, he was stopped by the first generation of Gua, who used a method to drag him into the Blood River graveyard. The flower wine monk was also a rank 5 ranker, and must have had a fierce battle with the first generation of Gua. The first generation of Gua had operated for hundreds of years, and had the geographical advantage. The flower wine monk was no match for them, and could only escape. He used the 1,000-li earthwolf spider to open up this cave, but after leaving the battlefield, he was already heavily injured. At the last moment of his life, he hurriedly left behind his inheritance, and carried out his final revenge. He attempted to let his descendants pluck the heavenly essence treasure lotus, and destroy the foundation of the Gua clan. This explained why the flower wine monk was bathed in blood and covered in wounds. But why did the 1,000-li earthwolf spider sleep here, and seal itself, was still a mystery. Also, what was the first generation of Gua planning? This was also a mystery. These questions are only minor details. Let's leave this place first. Fang Yuan stretched out his hand, and with a surge of primeval essence, he refined the 1,000-li earthwolf spider. This sturdy stone wall was actually a stone cocoon of the 1,000-li earthwolf spider when it was in hibernation. It was extremely weak, like the liquor worm that Fang Yuan took out from the earth treasury flower. Thus, although it was a rank 5 GU, it was easily refined by Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan lost the Thunderwings GU, and was worried about his own weakness in terms of movement. But now that he obtained the 1,000-li earthwolf spider, it was like a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel. This 1,000-li earthwolf spider was a type of giant GU that could be used as a mount. It fed on soil, and was easy to raise. Fang Yuan poured his snow-silver primeval essence into it, and the 1,000-li earthwolf spider gradually recovered, its aura becoming stronger. It began to eat, swallowing large amounts of soil. When its condition recovered to a certain extent, Fang Yuan, who was worried that a long night would bring trouble, jumped onto its back, and drove it forward. Although the 1,000-li earthwolf spider had only recovered a portion, it was still a rank 5 GU. Its 3 pairs of antennae alternated, and its speed was very fast. Moreover, after the stone cocoon broke, the cave would appear again. This path was opened by the flower wine monk when he escaped. The predecessor planted the tree, the posterity enjoyed the shade, the predecessor opened the path, the posterity fled. This was extremely convenient for Fang Yuan. The only thing that worried Fang Yuan was that the GU Master's primeval essence would be consumed whenever a mount GU moved. The 1,000-li earthwolf spider was a rank 5 GU, and rank 3 primeval essence could not sustain it. Every once in a while, Fang Yuan had to stop and sit on the 1,000-li earthwolf spider's back, activating the heavenly essence treasure lotus while taking out Yuan stone to extract natural primeval essence. With this two-pronged approach, along with his C-grade talent's recovery ability, Fang Yuan's primeval essence recovery speed became extremely fast. It was completely different from before. But good times did not last long, and not long after, the 1,000-li earthwolf spider started to go crazy. It started to absorb the primeval energy in the air, turning it into its own. At the same time, its 3 pairs of legs started to move, digging new tunnels and moving around randomly underground. This made Fang Yuan understand. This 1,000-li earthwolf spider, under the command of the flower wine monk, had a fierce battle with Guyue's generation. During the battle, it had already been contaminated by the blood frenzy Gu. The flower wine monk used the 1,000-li earthwolf spider to escape, and hurriedly created a secret cave in the mountain, leaving behind his inheritance, before dying with regret. The 1,000-li earthwolf spider lost its master, and became even more uncontrollable. In its frenzy, it returned to the tunnel that it had dug before escaping. Death was imminent, but fortunately, the 1,000-li earthwolf spider sealed itself, and fell into a deep sleep, delaying its death and preserving a chance of survival. Hundreds of years later, Fang Yuan came here, dug open the stone cocoon, and awakened it once again. But the problem with the blood frenzy Gu was not eradicated. As time passed, it relapsed again. Fang Yuan was deep underground, and with his own strength, he could not escape to the surface. He needed the 1,000-li earthwolf spider's ability. The 1,000-li earthwolf spider started to go crazy, and became more and more uncontrollable. Fang Yuan could only ride on its back, and gamble on his luck. But it was just the beginning, and the frequency of the 1,000-li earthwolf spider's frenzy was not high. Fang Yuan still had some control over it. Although the degree of control was getting smaller and smaller, overall, he was still in control of the general direction. He let the 1,000-li earthwolf spider burrow into the ground as much as possible, but the exact location was not something Fang Yuan could control. The setting sun in the western sky was like blood, and broken corpses and limbs could be seen everywhere. Bai Ningbing stood proudly on this battlefield, a layer of frost covering his feet, and the edges of the frost continued to expand outwards. There were less than 30 Gu masters left, and they huddled together, as if trying to find a sense of security from each other's body temperature. The Xiong group was already dead, and even Sister Xiong was beheaded by Bai Ningbing. Her beautiful head flew far away, and blood spurted out from her neck like a fountain. Xiong Lin's body was pierced by Ningbing's icicle, and Gue City was frozen into an ice sculpture. In the ice coffin, he still maintained his dodging posture before he died. His face was full of panic, fear, and shock, as if he was still alive. Fang Zheng's body was riddled with wounds, but there was no blood. Instead, his wounds were frozen by the ice. He breathed roughly, looking at Bai Ningbing in disbelief. Everything that happened just now was like a nightmare. Bai Ningbing clearly had a rank 3 aura, but the battle strength he displayed was close to rank 4. H. Although you are similar to him, you are not him. Too boring. Bai Ningbing looked at Fang Zheng, walking towards him step by step. The reason Fang Zheng could live until now was because of Bai Ningbing's intention. The Gu masters were in an uproar, and their morale was at its lowest. If not for the fact that their clan leader was watching from afar, they would have collapsed long ago and fled for their lives. Damn it, damn it. Why is there such a huge difference in battle strength? I am an A-grade talent, am I going to die here? Fang Zheng gritted his teeth, roaring in his heart. Die. Bai Ningbing leaped into the air and raised her ice blade high up. Slash. The ice blade expanded by 5 to 6 times, and with an unstoppable aura, it slashed towards the crowd. I am going to die. Facing this blade, many Gu masters broke down, crying out in despair. Damn it, it turned out like this. Xiong clan leader's face was ashen. Gue Bo was about to make a move, but was stopped by clan leader who sneered, Gue clan leader, no one is to interfere. Are you going to go back on your words and go against the agreement? Gue Bo squinted. Bai Ningbing is only rank 3, he cannot have such battle strength. You are openly admitting that he is cheating. Cheating? Hehe, I will tell you the truth, my clan's Bai Ningbing has the northern dark ice soul physique. Bai clan leader shouted. What? 10 extreme aptitude. At once, Gue Bo and Xiong clan leader were shocked. Report. Clan leader, there was a sudden earthquake, many bamboo buildings in the village collapsed, and blood is seeping out of the ground. There are not many casualties, but everyone is panicking. A Gue clan Gu master rushed over. Chapter 194. Moon Raiment. Fang Zheng screamed, activating his GU worms. His body emitted a blue misty light, quickly spreading and covering the surrounding GU masters. But even so, it could not hide the despair on their faces. Struggling is useless. Bai Ningbing's blue eyes shone with cruelty and coldness. But at this moment, bam! The ground beneath everyone's feet suddenly bulged, as if it was about to explode, mud flying everywhere. The GU masters screamed, rolling everywhere. In the dust, a giant spider appeared in front of everyone. The aura of a rank 5 GU made everyone's heart palpitate. On the spider that seemed to be made of steel, a young man with black hair and a black robe stood with his head held high. "I've finally reached the ground." Fang Yuan clenched his fist, his eyes shining brightly. Immediately, he saw Bai Ningbing in midair, hacking towards him. The giant ice blade whistled as it slashed towards him. The Bai clan leader was shocked as he looked at the white snake that had escaped. Bai Ningbing's calm and indifferent expression changed after a moment of shock, revealing excitement and fighting and follow them like a shadow. Fang Yuan snorted. Fang Yuan was shrouded by the white blade reached his body. His eyes were white. The cold wind caused him to shiver, but his long black hair fluttering behind his head. Although his vision was blocked, he raised his hand. He still had 4 other senses: chainsaw, golden centipede, hearing, smell, and touch. The ice blade and chainsaw golden centipede collided. Fang Yuan's ears fluttered, the golden centipede's teeth spun, determining the situation within 300 steps. Crack, lightning IGU. Cracks quickly appeared on the surface of the ice lightning, spreading across its entire body. The lightning IGU was only rank 3, Fang Yuan, and although it could see through the enemy, he had the strength completely suppressed by the rank 5 immortal snake suppressed by Ningbing. Bai Ningbing could only let go and retreat. Tens of icicles shot out indiscriminately in all directions. Everywhere. Fang Yuan's ears twitched, spider and he heard the sound of the icicles spreading its tearing through the air and charging towards. He quickly flipped to the side of the thousand-li have low intelligence, but are naturally sensitive. The icicles hit the thousand-li earthwolf spider's body. Bai Ningbing's aura was enraged and charged towards the direction of the great enemy. "I'm not playing with you anymore." Bai Ningbing raised his hands, flipped shooting out a row of icicles, abandoning the icicles hit the thousand-li relying on the earth communication. The icicles shattered. He escaped from the battlefield. Earthwolf spider went thousand-li earthwolf spider had already been contaminated by the blood frenzy GU and would turn into a pool of blood. 3 pairs of black spiral steel legs shot out like arrows. That Bai Ningbing was now a ticking time bomb. Killing him would cause him to self-destruct, and he could not be touched. Suddenly, the GU ray of snowy light been observing the battle. Snowy light erupted of the clouds, revealing the white form immortal. It flew towards the southeast direction of the battlefield. Bai Ningbing laughed heartily. Within this and leaped onto the white form immortal snake's back. The maze fog followed him like a shadow. Interesting. Unless it was dispelled, it would continue to cover Fang Yuan's vision until the maze fog dissipated. Fang Yuan's vision crawled up from the ground, but he had his face was cut by an ice blade, so he could use sound to determine the location. And he looked at Fang Yuan with a complicated expression. The rivers flowed. They also have a rank 5 and the beasts breathed. By clan leaders' gaze sank. Only the mountain rocks were silent. Fang Yuan, and thus they collided. You really showed up. Ice blade a rank storm. 5 GU. Bai Ningbing's shout came from behind. Earthwolf spider. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The wind blew, attention and cold air spread everywhere. On the temperature of the air dropped, 2 youngsters and a white of opposite ages stood facing each other as before. A white-robed man with silver hair and blue eyes rode on the white form immortal snake. That lump of fog holding an ice Fang Yuan, like an ice fairy descending to the mortal world, and shouted at the side. A black-robed man with black hair and black eyes stood on the thousand-village is your spider's back, holding a chainsaw golden centipede in his hand, but was stopped by the other 2 like a demon god appearing in the world. The confrontation between the 2 attracted and enter the battlefield yourself. Bai Ningbing had a fanatical expression, with his raising his ice blade and shouting, "Consider this the most exciting battle of my life. Defeat. Come, whoever dares to stop me, let us fight to the death." Guo looked at Fang Yuan, stared at further and further away, using his peripheral vision to observe the surroundings. "Are you trying to scare me?" "I am not afraid of you." Guo Bai clan leader's face was gloomy, and at the same time, he gave a look to the GU master beside him. That GU master understood, and immediately mobilized his men to chase after Fang Yuan. "I can't let him escape, I will be right back." Tai Ruo Nan took this chance, and suddenly moved. A pair of black iron wings grew from her back, and she flew in the air, chasing after Fang Yuan. But at this time, a green shadow shot over. Rank 5, Giant Mountain Puppet GU. This GU looked like a bronze mask, simple and unadorned, with 3 holes for the eyes and mouth. The bronze mask was stained with blood, and ignoring the shocked Tai Ruo Nan, it covered the young girl's face. Father. Seeing the blood, Tai Ruo Nan subconsciously cried out. Chapter 195. High up in the blue sky, there were many clouds. The elderly GU master rode on the white crane, and under his sharp white eyebrows, his eyes emitted deep killing intent. He, this grudge, I'll start from your descendants. He laughed, looking down at the battlefield, and stretched out a bone-thin finger, pointing downwards. The white crane beneath him immediately raised its long and elegant neck, letting out a loud and long cry. The sound spread in the vast sky, and as the sound lingered, countless responses could be heard. What sound is this? Fang Yuan was activating the Earth communication ear grass, and was the first to hear it, and was shocked. The crane cries continued endlessly, rising and falling with a majestic aura. This was not a group of 100 or 200 cranes, nor 2,000 or 3,000 cranes crying together. There had to be at least 10,000 cranes to create such an effect. Is there some crane group migrating? Inexplicably, Fang Yuan felt an extreme sense of unease. The crane cries also attracted the gazes of the GU masters present, and they all raised their heads to look. What is that in the sky? From the sound, it should be a large-scale bird group migrating. Warn all GU masters not to attack recklessly and cause trouble. Bai clan leader was speaking, but his voice suddenly stopped. His eyes slowly widened as he saw 1, 2, 3, thousands of flying cranes appear in the sky. They were densely packed together as they swooped down to kill this piece of land. How can this be? Quickly be on guard, defend. Let's escape. There are tens of thousands of these cranes. There must be a myriad beast king. The wolf tide just passed, and now there's a crane calamity. Heavens! Our Qing Maro Mountain is really plagued with disasters. The GU masters were in an uproar, all of them were shaken and their fighting spirit wavered. They finally managed to resist the wolf tide, but now there was a crane calamity. Qing Maro Mountain's 3 great clans had suffered heavy casualties. How could they have the strength to deal with such a large group of cranes? The cranes retracted their wings, and like a sky full of arrows, they shot down. Loud shouts. Panicked screams and screams erupted together, and all sorts of lights surged. Moonblades, water bullets, metal spikes, and so on were reflected in the sky. After a short but intense resistance, more than half of the GU masters died. This flying crane's long beak was like an iron awl. Every time its wings flapped, it had the force of a wild boar. Its claws were sharp enough to crack rocks. Ordinary flying cranes were already very difficult to deal with. Moreover, there were a large number of 100 Beast King level flying cranes among the flock, and there were also quite a number of 1,000 Beast King level flying cranes. The family had accumulated a wealth of experience in resisting the wolf tide. More importantly, they had a sturdy mountain stronghold to rely on for defense. But here, the mountains were vast and empty. Where were the defensive structures? Almost in the first wave of attacks, the number of GU masters was halved. The long beak of the flying crane pierced through the heart, and the crane claws tore through the skull. With a flap of its wings, the man spat out blood. He was thrown far away, all the bones in his body shattered. Fang Yuan was also attacked. His eyes were completely white, and he could only rely on the Earth communication ear grass to avoid the attacks. Fang Yuan, hang in there. At this time, Jiu Yubo's voice came from behind him. Fang Yuan was very puzzled. What was wrong with this Guobo? When he shouted earlier, his tone was not right, as if he was trying to protect him. Now he specially rushed over to support him. Although Fang Yuan was astute and had deep foresight, he could not predict things like a deity. In such a hurry, how could he have thought that Tai Ruo Nan would think he was one of the 10 extreme physiques? Guobo was a rank 4 expert, but the flying cranes attacking Fang Yuan were ordinary birds of prey. They were easily killed or dispersed by Guobo. Fang Yuan, is that you? Guobo came to the outside of the maze fog. Fang Yuan's thoughts moved like lightning. Now that the situation is extremely dangerous, relying on Guobo can greatly increase his chances of survival. He immediately replied, "It's me." Gu Bo could tell it was Fang Yuan's voice, and a huge weight was lifted off his heart. "Good. Fang Yuan, let's not talk about the past. No matter what, the clan will protect you. Let's return to the village, I will protect you while you retreat." What he did not know was that the village to Fang Yuan was a dragon's pool and tiger's den. But comparing the crane calamity to the village, the former was close, and if one did not escape, they would die. The latter was slightly further away, and was not at the point of being in a desperate situation. Fang Yuan sighed, and without hesitation said, "Clan leader, please lead the way, I will try my best to follow." But at this time, a giant crane descended from the sky. By my old Gu master sat on the crane's back, his voice cold, "No one can escape, die here." Fang Yuan could not see, but he heard Gu Bo exclaim, "Rank 5 Gu master." Evidently, clan leader Gu had investigative methods, and could determine a stranger's cultivation. Fang Yuan's heart shook. How could another rank 5 expert appear? The small Qing Maro mountain was not some famous mountain or river, nor was it a land of spiritual beauty. How could rank 5 experts appear one after the other? Don't tell me it has something to do with the Guyue generation? A flash of inspiration flashed in Fang Yuan's mind. His heart skipped a beat. If it was a normal crane calamity, he would have no chance. Wild birds were hard to make use of, and although his cultivation was rank 3 peak stage, compared to a rank 5, it was really limited, and difficult to break out of this predicament. But now there was a rank 5 Gu master, bringing him endless danger, but also a glimmer of hope to break out of this predicament. In this Qing Maro Mountain situation, the 3 rank 5 Gu masters were the key, and the others were just supporting characters. Only a rank 5 Gu master could deal with a rank 5 Gu master. In an instant, Fang Yuan made a decision in his heart. It was time, he had to take this gamble. Lord Clan Leader, the first-generation ancestor has already awakened underground. "We will be safe once we return to the village," Fang Yuan said. "What?" Gu Bo's shocked voice resounded in his ears. His shock instead made Fang Yuan's heart calm down. How could I speak carelessly about such matters? Only by going to the village can we save our lives. Fang Yuan continued. Gu Bo was a decisive person, and immediately dragged Fang Yuan, flying towards the village. But the flying cranes continued to fly over, blocking the way. 100 Beast King level, 1000 Beast King level. They appeared one after another. Gu Bo fought bravely, bathed in blood, protecting Fang Yuan. Gradually, he found it difficult to move forward, and fell into the heavy encirclement of the flying cranes. Fang Yuan was protected by Gu Bo, and was temporarily safe. Once the time was up, the maze fog dissipated. Fang Yuan looked at the battlefield, and saw corpses everywhere. It was a tragic sight. The Gu masters had sacrificed a lot, but the crane group had also suffered many losses. Other than the broken limbs of the humans. There were black and white crane corpses. Isn't this an iron beak flying crane? Fang Yuan was astonished. Others could not recognize it, because these flying cranes were not native to southern border. But he knew, these ironbeak flying cranes originated from central continent. Myriad Beast King, rank 5 expert. Soon after, Fang Yuan saw that in the air, a giant crane was slowly flapping its wings, floating in the air. On its back, sitting on it was a white-browed, white-haired, cold-looking old man. Fang Yuan retracted his gaze, and looked at Gu Bo. This Gu clan leader was already covered in injuries, his body was covered in blood as he fought with his life on the line. Many times, he could have dodged, but for Fang Yuan's safety. He would rather fight and get injured. Clan leader. Right now, the situation is extremely bad, the Gu masters are fighting on their own, but they are cut into small pieces by the flying cranes, and will be swallowed sooner or later. We can only gather their strength and combine them into one force. Only then can we break out of the encirclement and return to the village. Fang Yuan said to Gu Bo, "You are right." Gu Bo's gaze swept across the battlefield. Next, he shouted loudly, "Everyone, we are facing a great enemy, but my Gu village has a method to deal with them. Quickly come and meet up with me, we will charge out together." His voice reverberated in the battlefield, immediately attracting countless gazes. What? Guyue clan still has a trump card to subdue a rank 5 GU master? I would rather believe it than not. Brothers, charge out and meet up with Guyue clan leader. The GU masters were already in despair, but now they saw a trace of hope from Guyuebo's words. Under the threat of death, these GU masters who were once enemies joined hands, and quickly gathered together. Guyue clan, they are all your descendants, senior brother. On the giant crane, the white-brow old man sneered, and was about to command the crane group to intercept them, but he changed his mind and stopped this plan. I might as well let these people escape, it will be easier to catch them all. These are all his descendants. When the battle starts, he will have to hold back a little. But these 3 rank 4 GU masters have the ability to interfere with the battle. I cannot let them live, I will kill them first. Thinking of this, the white-brow old man gave a strange cry, and flicked his finger. 3 white halos flew out. What GU is this? Xiong clan leader was the first to be hit, and was enveloped by the white halos. His speed fell sharply, and he was crawling like a snail. The other 2 clan leaders were also the same. Fang Yuan, leave quickly. Guyue clansmen, listen up, we swear to protect Fang Yuan's safety, only he knows that method. Guyuebo tried many methods, but could not get rid of this halo, and could only shout loudly, turning around to face the white-brow old man. Fang Yuan turned around, and looked deeply at this Guyue clan leader. Elder Fang Yuan, we are here to protect you. Immediately, a large number of Guyue clansmen gathered around Fang Yuan, and firmly protected him. The healing light wave, and the speed-increasing whirlwind buffed Fang Yuan's body. Rumbling sounds came from behind. Under the mysterious and cruel fate, the 3 clan leaders who originally disliked each other were now closely united, and started a life-and-death battle with the mysterious old man. There was no suspense in the outcome of this battle. The 3 clan leaders died one after another. The white-brow old man flicked his sleeves, and sat steadily on the giant crane. The flying crane army covered the sky and covered the earth, slowly pressing towards the Guu village. The Guyue village was in chaos, and mournful cries could be heard. Large numbers of bamboo buildings collapsed, and among the ruins, rows of corpses were covered with white cloth. The injured groaned in pain, lying on the ground. The healing GU masters were sweating profusely. The clan leader pavilion had mostly collapsed, and the plaza was already covered in a layer of blood. Such a scene caused the clansmen to be extremely terrified. Tai Xueleng and Guyue First Generation's intense battle caused the mountain to shake, and naturally affected the village above. Guyue Yaroji, who had been guarding the village, did not see Guyuebo, but instead saw this group of remnant army from the 3 clans. What is going on? She shouted coldly. Fang Yuan did not speak, because the flying cranes behind him were the best explanation. This. Heavens, is my Guyue clan going to perish today? For a moment, Guyue village was in chaos. Senior brother, I came all the way here just to see you. Why didn't you come out to welcome me? The white-brow old man sat on the crane's back, and his tone was filled with cold killing intent. Before he finished speaking, on the village plaza, blood suddenly spurted 10 meters high, and a red coffin appeared vertically. First-generation Guyue who had turned into a blood white stood in the coffin, his blood-red eyes staring at the white-brow old man. Chapter 196. How did I find you? Ha ha ha. The white-browed old man laughed heartily. His laughter was joyous, and his gaze was ferocious. He opened his palm, revealing a GU. It was the kinship bloodworm. The kinship bloodworm was crystal clear, like a red agate. It was like a cicada, shining brightly and pointing its head at Guyue. Senior brother, although you stole my fortuitous opportunity, plotted against me, and took all my GU worms, I also mastered the secret method. Thus, I refined this kinship bloodworm. Do you know how it was refined? It was the blood of your 2 sons. Your 2 sons were only 5 or 6 years old, they were too young. Their blood was not abundant, so I could only raise them as herbmen, extracting their blood every month. This took me tens of years. After accumulating enough blood, I refined this GU, the white-browed old man said confidently, his tone extremely proud. Oh, by the way, your 2 sons also died not long after. Ha ha ha, After refining the kinship bloodworm, I used it to find you for many years. But the world is too big, and you disappeared without a trace. Although the kinship bloodworm is rank 5, its range is limited. Finally, I grew old. I could only use the life-saving Jade Burial GU, seeking life through death, and seal myself. Not long ago, I had to break the ice and try one last time. Unexpectedly, I found you by chance. Senior brother, do you know how happy I was at that time? As for that Tai Xueleng, hey, I indeed used a letter to guide him here. Seeing him reminds me of the way we used to be. But it makes me reminisce, back then, we killed demonic path thieves together, and were known as the Righteous Path's twin cranes, the white-browed old man said. After the battle with Tai Xueleng, his expression was relaxed, body was riddled with injuries, but the more he reminisced, was greatly the more intense the killing intent was brought into the sky by the flying white-browed old man gradually came from the central continent. Hand over your life was Master Tensuru. Back then, his body turning into a white rainbow, still to control the myriad generation level in the red coffin, and became famous. Gu's generation stepped out of the control myriad beast kings meant that he controlled a huge beast group of tens of thousands. This pair of wings were wide and powerful, was enough like for him to wipe out an entire village on his own. Zombie Master GU was one of the most classic series of GU learned from Zhongzhou widely spread throughout the world. Hundreds of years ago, Rank 2 they were fellow apprentices and were extremely Zombie GU, killing demonic jumping Zombie masters. Working hand in hand with great tacit blood-white Zombie GU was one of the while chasing a demonic GU master. It could naturally fly. They found an inheritance. First GU as eye sockets this legacy was one of the legacies set up by Patriarch Blood Sea. Looking sinister, however, sinister if it was an ordinary inheritance, he flapped his wings and soared into the sky. At least, colliding with Master wouldn't fall out in midair with a loud boom. However, the two were treasures within the inheritance, and after retreating a distance, they stabilized their bodies and to ascend towards each other again and become an immortal. The two of them couldn't help but be tempted. Their figures collided. Legend had it that Patriarch Blood Sea had left behind hundreds of thousands of legacies. Waves of aftershocks caused countless bamboo buildings to hide some of the treasures. After a while, these generations shouted loudly, his body turning into layers of blood shadows. The heritage they encountered was in Patriarch Blood Sea's true treasure heritage. Master Tensuru's eyes shone with a profound light, obtained the inheritance. Flying knives slashing blinded and immortal by swords piercing. Gu's generation the blood shadows and tried to kill Master Tensuru. First Gu spat out blood mist again. Master Tensuru he didn't activated his GU worms, forming a light barrier to block that the matter was exposed and could only conceal his identity. Master Tensuru was everywhere. His body was weak and his strength was weakening. After tens of years, suppressed he couldn't find lifespan and could only stay in southern borders Qing Hundreds of years in his twilight years. You still haven't improved. He changed his appearance and changed his generation, jeered loudly, creating Gu a village. Damn bastard. Master Tensuru scolded and was filled with hatred. He did not expect first Gu's generation to become so strong. Be it Blood Guillotine or Bladewing Bloodbat GU, they were originally his. Thinking of this, he became even more furious. It is time to use my trump card. Master Tensuru snorted inwardly, his white eyebrows lightly raised, and a change occurred. The tips of his eyebrows suddenly grew crazily, forming two long eyebrows that were tens of meters long. One on the left and one on the right, they were like snakes coming out of their holes, extremely fast, coiling around First Gu's generation. First Gu's struggle was futile, his claws unceasingly tearing. These eyebrows looked weak, but they were as tough as steel chains. Once coiled, it was like an old tree taking root. It is actually the raise eyebrow and exhale GU. First Gu's tone changed for the first time, he was shocked and angry. This raise eyebrow and exhale GU did not spit out ordinary chi, but primeval chi. It would dissipate the primeval essence in the GU master's aperture. But this GU was not commonly seen, killing 1,000 enemies would result in 800 losses. Master Tensuru used it now. Not only was first Gu's primeval essence being consumed, his own primeval essence was also being consumed. The raise eyebrow and exhale GU was like a bridge, connecting the two's apertures, causing the primeval essence to be consumed. It was often used by GU masters with high cultivation to bully the weak. If it was used on GU masters with higher cultivation, it would be courting death. But in this situation, there was a difference. Master Tensuru and First Gu were both rank 5 peak stage, but First Gu had turned into a zombie, his aperture was dead, and could no longer recover primeval essence. Master Tensuru might be old, and did not have much lifespan left, but his aperture still had vitality, and his primeval essence could still recover. This struck First Gua's biggest weakness. Master Tensuru's primeval essence was still slowly recovering, but First Gua's primeval essence was decreasing as it was used. First Gua retreated with all his might, but his white eyebrows were lengthened as if they were endless. At the same time, Master Tensuru was also getting closer. First Gua roared, and with a thought, he summoned the flying guillotine and bladewing blood bat Gu, trying to cut off the white eyebrows, but it was of no use. The white eyebrows were extremely tough, even if a few of them were cut off, they would quickly grow back. The primeval essence in the aperture continued to be consumed, and at this rate, First Gua would definitely lose without a doubt. He was after all a formidable character, and after being forced into a corner, he gritted his teeth and changed his battle tactics, summoning the flying guillotine and bladewing blood bat Gu towards Master Tensuru. Master Tensuru had to divert his attention to activate the raise eyebrow and exhale Gu, and could only activate the defensive halo and defend passively against such attacks. The white halo was on the verge of collapse, and Master Tensuru's heart sank. At this rate, the situation was far from good. That bronze mask flew out, revealing a square face. Although he was definitely going to die, there was no fear on his face. His eyes were filled with vicissitudes of life and determination. His blood-stained palm lightly patted, vaguely hitting first-generation Gua's chest. But this strength was very small, and first-generation Gua didn't care at that time. So it was that time. Damn it, if I had a living body, I would have sensed it long ago. But a zombie's body, although strong and has outstanding defense, is not sensitive. First-generation Gua felt great hatred in his heart. Turning into a blood-white zombie also had many drawbacks. According to his original lifespan, he should have died long ago. defying heaven and prolonging his life, how could there not be a price? Ha 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 ha. Master Tensuru laughed loudly, his aura rising as he attacked first-generation Gyue. First-generation Gyue could only block, and naturally fell into an absolute disadvantage. The demon suppression iron chain GU not only helped his body, but at the same time, a black iron chain phantom also appeared in his aperture, trying to suppress and seal the entire aperture. The prime Val sea boiled like boiling water, and countless GU worms flew around in the aperture, resisting the demon suppression iron chain GU suppression. Like this, first-generation GU's prime Val essence expenditure was extremely intense. You are going to lose today, die. Master Tensuru's attacks were like waves, unceasing, as if he had gone berserk. First-generation GU's body was covered in injuries, his white bones could be seen on his chest, and his arms were chopped off at the shoulder by Master Tensuru. Seeing that Master Tensuru was about to succeed, first-generation GU suddenly let out a strange cry. Yang. The sound wave was extremely ear-piercing, and instantly hit Master Tensuru. Master Tensuru heard this sound and immediately flew back dozens of steps like he was hit by a huge blow, his white eyebrows straightened. Then he fell down, landing on the ground. He got up with difficulty, blood gushing out of his eyes, nose, ears, and mouth. The sound wave was still rampaging in his body, causing his blood to flow in reverse, and he was unable to move for a while. Many GU masters saw an opportunity and shot moonblades, water bullets and so on from afar, but they were all blocked by Master Tensuru's halo. Dozens of flying cranes swarmed towards first-generation GU, but their iron beaks hit the blood-white corpse, like hitting steel skin and iron bones, all of them broke. The defense of a rank 5 GU was no small matter. Even if Fang Yuan used Chainsaw Golden Centipede to grind the blood-white corpse, he might not even be able to cut off a piece of flesh in 7 minutes. In this battlefield, only the 2 rank 5 GU masters could threaten the enemy.